Von RJ. Thank you for the hydrate redeem. I am going back to the classics. I'm drinking Sanmig. Oh my God, nadinig ko yung audio ko ng sarili. Wait lang. Okay ba yung audio ko? Is it... Hello? Hello? Nagka-crack ba siya? Oh shit, nagka-crack siya. Nagka-crack? Shit, nagka-crack siya. Hello? Okay. Nadidinig niyo ba ng doble? Sorry, pinakikinggan ko yung sarili ko stream. Thank you. Kakasimula pa lang, oh. Lasing na. Anyway, welcome to the stream. I have been reading yung policies ng Supergiant Games regarding usage of their music on streams. Apparently, pwede siya. So, background music natin ngayon is Supergiant Games music from the video game Pyre, which is like the best Supergiant game ever. Habang nakikinig ng nagbabasa ng Folk-Lore Filipino. Folk-Lore Filipino is a compilation of folk knowledge written by then journalist turned, parang eventually magiging mayor or vice mayor siya ng Manila, Isabelo de los Reyes, also known as the father of Philippine folklore, the father of Filipino socialism, and the father of Filipino labor unions. He started collecting folklore from indigenous people and other... Hello, Skinnard! Hello, Mion! I was just talking about Isabelo de los Reyes, who we have also called Daddy Isabelo. He started collecting folklore because he wanted to prove to the Spaniards that even before they came to the Philippines, we had religion, we had a culture, that they didn't bring it here. And that Filipinos actually came from something, hindi tayo tatanga-tanga before the Spaniards came. So last time we read a lot of chapters to the point na wala na siyang kinalaman to like monsters and stuff. We read about the duende, we read about the capre. Now we're gonna start with the duende, pero after that, the rest of the chapters are just like daily lives and beliefs of ancient Filipinos. So if that's your jam, welcome. Kung gusto niyo mag-skip dun sa chapter called Erotic Compositions, pwede din. Sabihin niyo lang. I don't know why it's in this book, but it is. There's like a chapter of erotic poems written in Spanish. I don't know either. I don't know. Kinky si Daddy Isabelo. Alright, also let me just plug this again. On feb22, it will be my 1 year of anniversary of streaming. So if meron kayong karaoke request, just put it on that Twitter post or on Discord. Join our Discord. Minsan nako-co-op na siya ng mga taong bumalik sa League of Legends, but like it's still fine. It's still fine. It's not on fire. League is a fun game that I don't play. Anyway, let's start. Chapter 21, the Duendes or the Dwarfs. The duende is one of the mythological beings introduced in the Philippines by the Spaniards. It has no equivalent term in Ilocano and has been retained up to the present. However, according to various authors of the Folklore Universal, it is said that in all towns they share the lime idea that the duende is a child devil. This is similar to the mocking devil of the Asturians, Catalanes, and the Brownies of Ireland, the dwarfs of Britain, the satyrs of pagan mythology, the kaibaan of the Ilocanos, and the tiyanak of the Tagalogs. As I said, meron akong theory talaga na the tiyanak started out as like, in folklore belief, as very, very small devilish things, and then the Spaniards came in and like, no, that is a baby. That is what happens if you don't bring your baby to Jesus Christ and get them baptize your baby, or else they'll turn into that. But like, maybe they weren't originally unbaptized babies or like babies na pina-abort, you know? Maybe, damo sa among aswang, yung lolo ko tiga Iloilo, ang dami niya din kwento about aswang. Pero kasi Ilocano tong libro natin so wala tayo masyadong aswang stories. The Filipino duende is a modification to whom is attributed some of the fabulous qualities of the kaibaan and other anito of the country, such as falling in love with human maidens, throwing stones, or playing all sorts of pranks on humans. Hello, Oni, welcome! Welcome to the stream. Thank you for the bits! We're just reading about the duende. I'm like 2 paragraphs in. While drinking Sanmig. This seems like a Sanmig kind of day. Sanmig, baka pwede yung sponsor niyo na ako, Sanmig or Lemon do, kung sinong mauna. In vegan, I being Isabelo Reyes, de los Reyes, have seen girls of 15 and 16 who looked innocent and said that they had found in some grove small, doll-like creatures who pretended they were men. Gin na lang? Sure. Tagay ta, dali. These girls placed them in their tapis or a type of apron, and these small men took possession of the girls' bodies. That's not a euphemism that I thought I would read today. These creatures talked and answered questions and told the girls where to find lost objects and who stole them. In exchange for guest stuff? Okay, sure. I introduced myself to one girl to ask more questions about the famous creatures called Duende, and she and her family said that they were not sure of their answer for fear of ecclesiastical authorities. It's the church. The church is preventing you from spreading Duende lore. Later, I pretended to be in Duendes, and with money, they furnished me to believe in Duendes, and with money, they furnished me with the secret. An old female member of the family introduced me to the girl in whose tapis the Duendes had hidden. She sat in front of me, and then the old woman cried, "Siriako, oh, Siriako!" When no one was answering, she called again, and then a kind of whistle, hardly audible, seemed to come from inside the girl. From inside the girl. Okay, she answered, "Aha, what are you doing?" This was answered by another whistle. "Did you understand it?" the old woman asked me. "No." He said he was sleeping, and so she continued asking and interpreting the whistles from inside the girl. I don't know which hole. There's a lot of holes. The butthole. I don't know. I suspected that inside the nose of the girl. Oh, inside the nose of the girl. Okay, so the nose. Ano iniisip nyo? Ano iniisip nyo inside? Bastos? I suspected that inside the nose of the girl there was something that produced whizzing sounds when she breathed. Okay, so here's what we know about duendes. Small people will help you find lost things for a price, for taking possession, quote unquote. Ayo, yeah. I feel like I know too much already. But before, I used to live in this place with a this was after I got exiled to land, okay? I used to live in a place with a very, very big tree with hanging vines on it. And sometimes, when it's very, very dark, I would whistle, and something from that tree would whistle back. And then I never approached that tree because fuck that shit, I'm not gonna tempt fate. Also, my uncle used to claim na may duwende sa CR dati. It was like a really, really old house. Outhouse pa yung CR. Tapos may kumukurot daw sa puwet niya habang tumatae siya. But like, tito please. And that's it for personal and not exactly fun experiences with mythological creatures. We're gonna skip a lot of chapters because a lot of these chapters are about it's about ayo. Oy, ano yan? Bakit may ganyang face, may gam. We're gonna skip a lot of chapters because a lot of the chapters in between are about how Filipinos celebrate feasts, and I think we already know that. Or like, it's not very fun to read. Buti hindi nasama sa tayong duwende. Baka kaya siya galit kasi nataihan siya, We don't know. Hey! We're gonna talk about pregnancy and childbirth. Pregnant. Woman pregnant? Yes, pregnant. How woman go pregnant? We don't know. Asa na yung... Where did I put... There. Go. Let's go to chapter... Actually, chapter 2 na to ng libro. I don't know why I guess... assuming that some people are reading along. Kahit hindi naman. If you want a copy of this book, minsan nasa UP Press siya. Nasa UP Press na bookstore in Shopee. I can spell. What the fuck is childbirth? You wanna know what's worse than I know? It's a child. A child. Children are the worst. Okay, so let's talk about the beliefs of old-timey people when it comes to pregnancy and childbirth. The aswang, or the nightmare of pregnant women, is apparently not known to Ilocos. Sorry guys, tiga Visayas talaga sila eh. Visayas creatures ang aswang. Unfortunately. Welcome. And sa ano? Sa like, Ilocos, and hey! Thank you, Pental! Thank you for the lurk and thank you for the resub. Kumagat ba yung sub ko? Go have fun with League, by the way. Have fun with League. I know what you're doing. I know you guys are just playing League. Wala namang masama. Okay, so madami actually creatures na lumilipad and kumakain ng babies, like in, if I remember correctly, Indonesia and Malaysia. Pero sa Pilipinas kasi they're kinda hot. Like they're half bodies of women with wings. Sa Indonesia and Malaysia, it's just a head attached to some guts, attached to the digestive system. Tapos lumulutang siya and kumakain siya ng babies. So Filipino as well, very hot. Everywhere else, kind of weird. I feel like the Spaniards made it sexy. The Spaniards was like, oh no, it must be shaped like a woman because women scary and kaya hot yung aswang natin. But that's just a theory, a folklore theory. Okay, so back to the book. Among the principales, it is customary for a pregnant woman during the 9th month of her pregnancy to bathe frequently and take laxatives so the fetus will feel fresh and not die and childbirth will be easy. I'm so confused. When the first signs of birth are felt, a midwife is called. The rich need a man and a woman to assist in childbirth. The man pushes the fetus but once it's out, he leaves the room because, oh no, a vagina. The comadrona or midwife who receives the baby cleans it and attends to the mother. According to the Ilocanos, only the husband, the mother, and the midwife should assist the childbirth so that it would not be difficult. I mean, fair, nakaka-stress ata mga anak kung like, you have a whole ass crowd, like, yay, go for it! Nag-cheer like VTubers. If the fetus is delayed in coming out, the woman drinks some kind of brew. In Manila, the mother is given chocolate for added strength. Ay, so din ng chocolate. If a difficult situation arises, the midwife, male or female, cuts her nails and pulls out the baby with her bare hands. Sometimes the baby or the mother dies because of this. Well, yes! You put your whole ass hands. You can do it for a cow. Okay? Sometimes you can put both hands inside of a cow and you can clap. This is what I learned in agriculture class. Don't do it to a human woman. Don't do it. Don't do that. Why are we in this chapter? Why did I select to read this chapter? The pregnant woman walks a lot before giving birth. Actually, medyo uso na siya ulit. Ting sasayaw or maglalakad ka bago mga anak. Some give birth squatting while others lying down. After the birth, the midwife bathes the baby with warm water and cuts the umbilical cord with a piece of wood. It is the belief that it is bad to use steel or iron for cutting. When it is cut, they sear the ends of the remaining part and press it dry with coconut husk powder. They throw away the placenta at a special ceremony which varies depending on the province where it is held. The peasants of Ilocos Sur get the placenta and hang it on the branch of a tree, leaving it at the mercy of the sun and the rain. It is believed that this will make the child strong during cold weather. Sometimes they throw the placenta into the river, hoping that the child will someday be a good swimmer. Sure, that's logical. In Ilocos Norte, they have another way of doing things. The father of the newly born child wraps the baby to protect it from the air, walks with his head bowed to a hole dug beforehand, and there places the baby for a short time in the baby hole. He should not look at any object on the way, otherwise the baby will be cross-eyed. Just focus on your mission to put the baby back in the baby hole, okay? The baby hole being a literal hole on the ground. The natives of Abra, like the Tagalogs, put the baby for a while in a pot and cover it with a piece of papel escrito, which the author does not explain what, so that the baby will be learned and talented. Later on, the pot is buried in the yard of the house. The baby hole and the baby pot. The first nourishment the Ilocanos give the baby is a juice of the amargoso or ampalaya. This is followed by honey, and after 2 or 3 days, milk is given. The women of the rich class, after giving birth, are given a brew of corantillo or sarsaparilla. The peasants, like the Tinguanes, take a brew of anonang vine, which, again, the author does not explain kung ano siya. The midwives massage the mother for 15 days to put the bones dislocated during childbirth back into place. Ayoko talagang mga naklas. I don't, I, Yung breeding hanggang kink lang, hindi ginagawang totohanan. Puta, what the fuck? My husband will put the baby in the baby hole. Don't like. Okay, what's the next horrifying chapter about life in the past? While I'm typing this down, ang pananaw naman ng ano ko, ng grandparents ko when it comes to like making sure your children don't fight is when pinanganak sila, 'di ba, they like ika-cut off yung umbilical cord. According to my grandparents, the reason why my uncles and aunts do not fight is because they kept the umbilical cord tapos tinali-tali nilang lahat. It means you're together forever now. You're together forever. You're all cursed to be friends. And so, according to my grandparents, they don't fight. Little did they know, my parents and my aunts and uncles, they just keep it a secret from the grandparents when they fight. But still, let them dream. Yun yung pananaw ng mga matatanda eh. Let's let them go. With their lanyard of umbilical cords. I don't know what's gonna happen to that lanyard. Eventually, I do know nasa kwarto pa rin siya ni Lola. I could like look for it if I wanted to. I don't want to. I don't want to touch my... Anyway. Yes. Baptism and rebaptism, whatever that means. The Ilocanos named the child after the saint whose feast is celebrated on the day the child was born. Unlike, kind of like weebs right now, yung mga pinapangalanan nilang Naruto Uzumaki yung anak nila. Siguro dahil ka-birthday ni Naruto. Same logic. I swear to God, religion is sometimes just fandom. It is not rare for one to celebrate both his birthday and his saint's feast day. According to an Ilocano, if another name is given to the child, the patron saint is offended and may take the life of the child. What the fuck is this petty as fuck patron saints? However, the priests in the parish church usually give a common name to all those baptized on the same day. They're fucking lazy. Tite, hello Frankie, welcome to the stream. We just finished talking about breeding. Now we're talking about baptisms. Say so tayo ngayon, say so. Unless this chapter takes another weird turn. Moreover, the priest saves time by writing days in advance on the baptismal book, so the name of the saint that coincides with the birth date. The priest does this with the consent of all concerned. Here are some popular beliefs regarding baptism and rebaptism. Beliefs: if during the ceremony the candle of the godmother or godfather is snuffed out, the child will only have a few days to live. Is this some sort of BDSM fanfic about baptism? Oh God, I wish. No, this is what Filipinos apparently used to believe in. Or currently believe in. Some beliefs still stay. The same is true of the baby who does not cry when the priest pours the baptismal water on its head. Make the baby cry. Or else... What? I wish what? It would be... Anyway. Your Honor, I'm not on trial. If the baby does not cry while the priest puts salt in its mouth, he puts salt in the mouth, he will become virtuous. Okay. Godparents. Usually there is one sponsor for each child. A man if the infant is a boy, a woman if the infant is a girl. That's sexist. The sponsor carries the baby from the church and gives the baby to the parents with a cash gift for the child. The present is called the pausit and it is intended to bring good luck to the child. Rebaptism. What is rebaptism? Perhaps the Filipino-Hispanic term rebautismo needs some explanation. It refers to the practice of the barrio folk to have a gravely ill child rebaptized. So if you're sick, binyag ulit. Good job. When the child has high fever, its parents will take it to a fate healer who asks what place they have gone to and what the father has been doing, whether he has been cutting down trees or doing other chores in the field. Then the fate healer asks for fresh coconut oil and with some betel leaves or angelito, applies it on the sick child. If the fever persists, it is a sign of the wrath of a vengeful Anito has not been appeased. The fate healer then tells them to prepare yung madikit na malagkit na rice, a pig, and some chickens for a special ceremony. On the assigned day, he brings a guitar, a saber or a lance or gayang, coconut palms, eggs, and a silver coin or real. He sticks them upright on the ground and starts to dance around the sick child to mock it or to flex. Haha. You're sick, I'm healthy, probably like that. Then he gets the lance and pierces the pig that is tied nearby. No, piggy. He then burns the animal's skin, divides it into two, and takes one half of it to where the tree has been cut down. Here, the fate healer calls out loudly, "My friend Anito, here is what belongs to you." In the meantime, the other half of the skin is seasoned and cooked to be eaten as a lunch. So, yummy. I feel like this is just an excuse for a good lunch. After the meal, the fate healer takes the wooden plate, turns it over, and sketches a cross on the back saying he will change the name of the sick child so that the sick child will get well. Any man who ignores the new name will suffer from a hernia. Okay? Don't dead name people. Your butt will get sore. Is the moral lesson. Any woman who likewise ignores it will feel as if her uterus is falling. Use their dead name so that you will never have a child again. Seems parang masaya sa babae Yung mga lalaki sumasakit yung puwet. Unless, guys, nasa puwet ba yung uterus nyo? Asking for a friend. Is that why? Is that? Do men have uteruses in their butts? Babalik na ako sa pagbabasa. Non-believers could also be attacked by a fatal blow of a hunting knife. Wait lang. Wait lang. If you don't believe, we kill you. The end. These ceremonies are called Buniag, Tisirok, Tilatok, or simply Buniag, derived from the Kabunian or Buni, the god of ancient Ilocanos. Thus, according to Father Lopez, who was mentioned earlier, the term has been banned from the baptismal records of the church, a decision of the Provincial Council of Calasiao, Pangasinan. As a result of performing rebaptism, many Ilocanos carry different names from those coming from canonical books. Anyway, what did we learn? The uterus of men are in their butts. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Oh? Yes. Yes, exactly. That. Uterus of men in butt. I hate having medical knowledge sometimes. It's fine. Please share your medical knowledge. Because it's fun. It's fun and fucked up. The human body. I know what it looks like. Same. Okay, I lied. I actually just know what it looks like in hentai. Wala kayong nadinig. Let's talk about marriages. Seiso na po tayo. Let's talk about the sanctity of marriage between two people who are pure and will only have sex for the sake of having children. Yes. Half-lurk League. Yes, sure. Enjoy League. Are you hearing things right? Yes. Unfortunately. Marriages in Ilocos Sur. When a young man wants to get married, he informs his parents. If they approve of his choice, they themselves look for a spokesman or a person close to the family of the girl, and together, they all go to ask the hand of the girl for marriage. Cool. Happy children. Only in the rural areas is the practice of donations called sabong observed. The couple is considered betrothed without further ceremony. If the families are wealthy, the parish priest visits the house of the girl. The future husband also goes accompanied by his friends and other male relatives. If they belong to the middle class, they are the ones to go to the convent of the parish priest. Man, that seems simple. probably, the wedding of wealthy families takes place at 4 o'clock in the morning. This sucks. Never get married. In this province, as in other Ilocano provinces, it is customary to get married on a Monday, a Wednesday, or a Saturday. Yep, sabang. Yeah? I probably pronounce it wrong, but yeah, same. Sa ibang term. Probably. Probably because the A and the O is the same in some Filipino languages. Before the wedding, a band goes around the town to playing paso doble to wake up the guests for the marriage ceremony. Holy shit. So 4 a.m. na nga yung kasal. Gigisingin pa kayo ng banda para umattend kayo. Like, fuck, this sucks. After the wedding, the guests without a band accompanying them go to home in two groups. The first is an all-male group, the second is an all-female group. They proceed to the house of the bride to celebrate the occasion. Here, a band starts playing as soon as the parties reach the house. The common townspeople do not spend for music at weddings. In the barrios, marriages, single or group, usong kasalang bayan, are solemnized at 7 o'clock in the morning and the guests go home at about 8 o'clock. The band conducts these guests to their distant houses, but in each town except Vigan, there is only one band and there are so many guests, so the practice takes a lot of time. In Ilocos Norte, the merrymaking ends at 12 in the morning. Sometimes the band divides itself into 2 or 3 groups composed of 6 or 7 people, but all have the bombo. Oh, presumably firecrackers so as to create a lot of noise along the way. Okay, that seems fun actually. The followers divide themselves also to go in groups. Behind them is the band playing the deafening sound of the paso doble. The groom must wear a chamberga or a narrow silk belt and a black collared jacket. The Ilocano women wear black shiny shawls, but the bride and her entourage do not use it during the wedding. The wives of the principales carry their shawls folded up on their heads with a closed parasol. So yeah, apparently, old-timey Filipino weddings, we wore black. Which is kind of cool. If you want to wear black in a wedding, just say you're following ancient tradition. We wear black. We just don't wear a veil. And the celebration varies in each town or barrio. In the suburbs of Cabugao, I have seen on certain occasions 2 maidens throwing from the house some delicacies called okilas when the newlywed arrives. Everybody scrambles to get what he can amid shouts and applause. Now, let's go to Ilocos Norte. Ilocos Sur ba yung kanina? Yeah, I don't know the difference between Ilocos Norte and Ilocos Sur, guys. I can tell you the difference between Davao del Norte, Davao del Sur, Davao de Oro, and Davao Occidental. Ilocos, entirely different beast. Okay, so Ilocos Norte. Some parents plan the future marriage of their children as early as when they are newly born or even before their birth. These contracts are formalized when the children reach the age of 10 or 11 for girls and 12 or 13 for boys. Later in life, they actually get married, denying their true age in the process. Huh? Okay, sure. Many of these contracts or betrothal are made without the knowledge of the children. Goddamn. Thus, many young couples marry unhappily without love. These lamentable circumstances usually lead to a fatal ending, but it is also regrettable if they marry without paternal consent. Paternal lang. Yeah, paternal lang. That's sad. In Ilocos, suitors ask for the hand of a maiden only on a Thursday. Thursday lang Thursday. Kung ayaw mo nang ipapakasal ka, huwag kang lalabas ng bahay ng Thursday. A Saturday or a Sunday, believing that these are lucky days. Okay, fine. Huwag kang lalabas ng bahay ng Thursday, Saturday, Sunday if you want to stay unmarried. The mother or an aunt or grandmother of the groom comprise the committee to visit the bride-to-be. Holy shit, that's intimidating as fuck. They are careful not to meet a pregnant woman along the way. Upon their arrival at the house of the young fiancé, the preliminary amenities focus on the good qualities of the suitor, after which the object of the visit is stated. Noted, huwag kang lalabas Huwag kang lalabas ng Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. Kung gusto mong pakasal, tumambay ka sa labas ng Thursday, Saturday, Sunday. The parents of the fiancé usually answer that their daughter will be duly consulted about the matter. After 3 or 4 visits and the parents show their approval, a member of the groom's committee gives a gold or silver coin known in the province as paminting or palalian in other parts of Ilocos region. The coin signifies the sealing of the union of the two lovers. The next step is a wedding. Another visit before the wedding discusses the property of the groom expected to be contributed to the marriage. The contribution is called sabuang, which may be in the form of money, or if the groom is rich, parcels of land, jewels, beautiful dresses, and nice slippers. If he is poor, he will give a mounted plow and seriously think of being able to earn enough to support the daily needs of his future wife and children. That's sad. Only if you're poor. Isa talaga sa considerations mo is mapapakain ko ba yung asawa at mga anak ko. I mean, valid but also, man, harsh Daddy Isabella. On the eve of the wedding, the groom and his relatives go to the bride's house, sometimes accompanied by musicians to present the usual sabang, which consists of some baskets of fine cotton, a handful of first-class rice. Just a handful, isang tsupa. A salt shaker, a white tabo made from coconut husk which serves as a drinking glass, and several wooden ladles called atlo. The cotton cloth, according to popular belief, will ensure that the couple will never lack clothes to wear. But why? Rice, that they will always have food to eat, rice being a staple food of the Filipinos, salt so that they will never lack seasoning, tabo so that they will never feel thirsty, and ladle so that they will have everything necessary in life. A few days before the wedding, the groom is not allowed to go to the fields because it is commonly believed that this is the time when he is most exposed to many dangers. Someone might stab him, who knows? Here are other common beliefs about marriage. If the wife answers to the priest in a low voice when he asks her name, the marriage will be a failure. Okay, if you want your marriage to fail, someone calls you, the priest goes, "What's your name, bride?" And I'll go like, Mario Magindaro. And that's it. Instant failing marriage right there. Instant failed. If one of the coins handed to the bride falls during the ceremony, the couple will squander their money. When the couple joins hands, the bride should step on the foot of the groom so that she can dominate him. Oy! Oy! Ay! Ay, ganun pala. Tapakan pala. Step on me, daddy. Kabaka yan pala yung kink ni Kuya. If one of the candles placed on either side of the couple burns with a brighter flame, that means the partner beside it will have a longer life. When the newlyweds return from church, the entertainment begins. Right at the stairs, they stop to welcome the visitors. The guests sing joyous hymns, exclaim Albricias, or what joy, and throw flowers at the couple. Then, with lighted candles, the sponsors go up to the house with the couple and hand over their candles to the bride and groom. If one goes ahead of the other, he or she will be unfaithful and they will lead an unhappy life. Okay. When all the guests are inside the house, they pray before the family altar one Our Father, a Hail Mary, and a Salve for the repose of the souls of the deceased relatives. When praying, the partner whose candles flickers will not live long. Pinatay mo na agad. Wow. It is also believed that if the wedding is celebrated lavishly, the marriage will end badly, for God will punish the couple for their pride and ostentation. Okay? Cheap weddings only, magagalit si Jesus. The guests who sit at the main wedding table should wear white, the men in striped shirts and their female partners in similar attire. Those wearing striped shirts should be in even number. No one in black is allowed to sit at the main table. The rest of the guests are at a separate table or in the kitchen. Big mangoes are served to the couple because it is believed that mangoes make a woman fertile. Hindi, tumaba lang yun kakakain ng mangga, but sure. The party is celebrated at the bride's house with joy, music, good food, and the guests chanting happily and playing card games. On the wedding night, the groom sleeps in the house of his in-laws and the bride in hers. That's scary. The next day, they all go to mass. Another celebration follows in the house of the bride. In the afternoon at around 4, there are dances and other forms of entertainment. The merrymaking is interrupted and applause begins for the panagtutupak. The couple squat in the middle of the house surrounded by their relatives in a big circle. This seems weird. In the center beside the couple, the sponsors sit. The bride and groom bring to the ceremony a goblet and a bottle of wine. Or basi. Oh, rice wine. The relatives of the bride offer her money which they put in the plate brought by the sponsors. The relatives of the groom do the same to him. The couple return and offer them basi. I like the ceremony now. People get drunk and people get money. Tom, goods na si Maggie. Wala akong dalang pagkain, Zay. Halaka, Chareng. Hello, Uncle Lobo. Hello. I'm always hungry. We are talking about marriages in old-timey days. The sponsors animatedly called out for more donors. This tradition is a source of great fun because everyone's drunk. In the morning of the third day, they gather again to the church to hear the mass, after which they go to the house of the groom where a small party called panaguugas or washing of the plates which have been used is celebrated. Okay, now this is just doing chores. When it's time for the newlyweds to retire for the night, God, 3 araw bago sila pwedeng magtsuktsakan. What the fuck? There is a ceremony called the pananggikamen. Ina, may seremonya sa 3 araw. Tigang na yung... Anyway. 3 mats or cots are laid on the floor with an old woman lying down between the couple. Oh my God, may lola pa sa gitna. The Cicerone spends the night fully awake, holding a lighted candle, after some time is put out. Bawal kayong magtsuktsakan, nandun si lola sa gitna. Oh, so that's 3 days. 3 days, wala pa rin nangyayari. 3 days. Tapos pinapanood pa kayo ni Lola. Oh no, horny, Lola's here. In the morning of the following Saturday, the couple, sponsors, and relatives bathe in the river. In the afternoon of the following Sunday, the relatives of the groom take the latter's clothes to the house of the couple, and there follows a display of the new couple's wardrobe, each trying to outdo the other in kind and in number. The day ends with a dance. A dance. Pwede na, no? Pwede na. Wala na si Lola. No, si Lola. Hey, Oji! Welcome to finding out about Lola's kinks. Watching you on your 3rd day of marriage. Just watching. Just there. Lola. Okay, let's go back to the book. Someone from Ilocos Norte wrote, and I quote, "The parents of the groom bring a bottle of traditional basi to the house of the bride to celebrate the final rites of the marriage. The in-laws of the bride and the groom toast to the health of the newly wedded couple with their goblets full of basi. Usually, the groom is dressed in a flesh-colored cotton shirt, a jacket, and silk pants. He carries a rosary with big beads." Ay, rosary ba talaga yan? "And wears a salakot with silver decorations. The bride wears a saya, a kamisa, and a luxurious kandonga, a silk tapis, a big pianeta, earrings, rings, and a gold rosary, which is the fashion. She does not wear slippers. When the church ceremonies are over, the sponsors hire a band of musicians. The band, like an advance party, marches before the committee. All over the archipelago, the expenses incurred in the baptism, wedding, and death of the godchildren are borne by the sponsors. On the way, one can recognize the newlyweds by their luxurious attire. The groom carries a parasol to shield the bride from the rays of the sun. Together, they walk slowly with downcast eyes." Si Lola pa simple lang, no? Lola has needs too, guys. Kung alam niyo lang kung ano yung mga nagaganap sa mga home for the aged. Look. Let's just accept na may asim pa si Lola, okay? Oh, and si Lolo. They have needs. This is normal. I don't want to talk about this anymore. I have seen my grandfather's very heavily bookmarked book about tantric sex. Anyway. Never look at your grandpa's library without his permission. You will find forbidden things. Let's talk about marriages in La Union. In this province, there is another way of asking for a woman's hand in marriage. When one wishes to marry, he tells it to his parents. This wish is transmitted to the family of the girl, and if they approve of the planned marriage, they open the doors of their house to her suitor so he can ask her personally. Otherwise, the marriage customs are similar to those customs and traditions about love which can be found and observed in Ilocos Sur. Now, in Abra, the consent of the parents of the bride is given under certain conditions. It is necessary for the parents of the groom to promise to give the couple a dowry or whatever the girl's family might request. The suitor gives a list of what he should bring to the marriage, documented and signed by a witness. The family of the girl keeps this document so that they could file charges before a judge against the parents of the groom in case of breach of promise. In Abra, the tradition palalian is observed with regards to the giving of dowry, which usually consists of rings and several gold coins. Sometimes the hand of a maiden is asked through letters. And that is the chapter of marriages. On marriages in the northern Philippine region, noong panahon ng mga Espanyol. This book was written when again? 1889. So, turn of the century. No, 1889. 1889. 1889. Sabi ko nga. Man, this book is old. Once again, El Folk-Lore Filipino. If you want a copy, you can find it sa UP Press minsan. Bakit ganon, OG? I share about my family and this is what I get. Pero promise na shock talaga ako dun. Pinupunta ko kasi yung library ng lolo ko kasi my grandfather has a lot of books about like palmistry, tarot, ganon. He's that guy. He's that guy that's into that really had an occult stage. So I was like, oh, what's this heavily bookmarked book? And now I know why I have many aunts and uncles. Yeah, he's a cool grandpa though. That's true. Bookmarked with notes, okay? Like, we stand a grandfather who studies how to please his wife. Heavily bookmarked and annotated copy of that book. Let's talk about mourning now. Like, we've talked about pregnancy and childbirth. We've talked about baptisms. We've talked about marriage. Let's talk about the beliefs of people when it comes to death. Wait lang, painom lang muna uli ng sandwich. Diba? Eh, choto. Bakit bumukas yung ano ko? Yung window ng news. Okay, there we go. It's down now. Let's talk about mourning. While in agony, the Ilocanos help a dying man have a good death by reading aloud to him Panang Jesus. That doesn't seem fun. What if I just want to hear erotic fanfiction when I'm about to die? Do it for me, friends. And when he finally departs, everybody in the house prays for the repose of his soul. The people in Ilocos Sur see to it that no fly lands on the face of the dying man. They believe that the fly thinks the face of the agonizing man is a mountain. In the olden times and even at present, as gathered from reports about several cases in several towns in Ilocos Norte, the fingers of the dying man are observed carefully when he begins to convulse. The number of fingers stretched out signify the number of persons that the people closest to the dying man must kill with their own hands or by other means. It is believed that if they do not comply with this duty, they soon will die. Tangina, para siyang hollow sa Bleach. Wait. However, the relatives of the deceased are not obliged to kill, but they can cut off the smallest finger of either the right or left hand of the victims. A complication arises when the relatives get sued in court by their victims. Okay, so you don't have to kill them. You can just take off their fingers. It's fine. Okay. Let me Tingnan ko kung naalala ko. Can I say it in my own words? Baka maalala ko. Okay, so kapag naglulupasay na yung mamamatay, you look at their fingers kung ilan yung naka-outstretch. If like there's 3 fingers na naka-outstretch, it means that there are 3 people that must be killed by the relatives of that man, otherwise those relatives will die. But you don't actually have to kill those 3 people, you can just take off their fingers and you will be fine. Anyway, it's weird. It's weird. Pero like, it's nice to know na I feel like one of the reasons kung bakit na-appreciate ko yung anime na Bleach was it tried to make an explanation out of bakit kapag may namamatay, may sumusunod agad na mahal niya sa buhay. Parang gano'n. But I'm not gonna start talking about Bleach because I will never shut up about Bleach. So, let's move on to, we're still at the fingers cut part of the story. Okay, so sometimes the fingers cut off are collected. Isabelo de los Reyes would rather not say where they are brought. Those entrusted with the care of the dead dress in black and go to the remote areas to hunt for men, supposed victims. Oh my god, they really are carrying out murdering sprees. They always blame someone else for the death, for among the Ilocanos, death is due to someone's fault. In Abra, it's different. The old men and women look at the feet of the cadaver to see which one has shrunk. The Ilocanos firmly believe that the disease escapes through the head of the dying person. Hence, they avoid standing at the head of the dying person to avoid contamination. Fuck. Ubusan pala talaga siya ng lahi. The shrouding. Hello, Coffee! Welcome! How was League? We're talking about dead people now. The shrouding process is done by the old ladies and widows. After the dead is bathed with tepid water, he is dressed in the nicest clothes he owns or in his wedding attire. In Ilocos Norte, they change the clothing of the dead 3 times, put on the body the most expensive jewelry he owns so that the dead can bid goodbye to mundane things. Before leaving the house, the body is dressed again in the habit of a Franciscan monk. It is said that a sudden movement can hasten the decomposition of the body. In Ilocos Norte, a coin or any piece of jewelry made of gold is placed inside the dead man's mouth to prevent rapid decomposition. Is this based on science? I don't know. Asan yung sepulturero dun sa chat? Another belief is that by putting a little quantity of mercury, just a little mercury, it's fine, he's already dead, in the mouth or in the rectum, in the ass, the dead will rise and chase the crowd without stumbling on anything. How to make a zombie? Thermometer sa puwet. Wait, wala na nga palang mercury yung thermometers ngayon, right? Mercury sa puwet and you will make a zombie. The wake. The corpse is usually kept for 24 hours in the house so that the friends can come and visit. The conversation centers on the cause of death, which is narrated in detail by members of the family. Among the middle and lower class, when the husband dies, the widow usually recites a poem of lamentation, giving an account of their married life, recalling their first amorous relationship to the final words he said before his death, as well as his last wishes. He fucked me from behind. Ay, bakit ako gumagawa ng poem? Anyway, as expected, the mood of sadness is heightened and more bitter tears are shed. However, this practice is rare among husbands when they become widowers. Why? Why? Kapag ako namatay, I wanna know how good I was in bed. Anyway, tell everyone, husband, it is required. This is why I'll never get married. Masyadong high yung demands ko, guys, kapag ako namatay, kwento nyo. In the Ilocos provinces, the close relatives take turns watching the cadaver to ensure that no fly will alight on it. The lamentations are studied beforehand and the hymns are sung in low tones, sui generis. Some words make the others laugh, as in the following stanza. I'm not gonna read it, it's in Spanish. But translated, it means, "Oh son, I ask that if you see Clara, give her my message." Haha, that's funny. This is the lament of Clara's mother, who is not a relative of the deceased, but who is moved to tears remembering her daughter. Haha, funny! Wow, this is supposed to make people laugh? Okay. The wives of the principales limit themselves to only moans and groans. Professional mourners are rare in Ilocos. If there are some, they are usually drunken women who chant verses that could bring the dead back to life. I wanna be a professional mourner because it means I will be drunk. Sometimes on their way, they are accompanied by loud laughter. This also happened in a similar way during the time of El Cid in Spain. Funerals. The relatives and friends of the deceased give candles for the funeral and to those attending the burial. The funeral procession of the rich would have a band and several priests walking alongside the hearse, stopping 3 times to make way for prayers. The mourners are divided into 2 groups, one male, the other female. Bawal magholding hands, magagalit si Jesus. The widow would be at the end of the second group, her face covered by a veil or a shawl called a lambong and continuously crying. In Ilocos Norte, she is surrounded by old women. The poor would have their dead brought to the church in a rectangular coffin. Funerals for children are accompanied only by a band without any of the groups mentioned above. Their coffins are decorated with paper flowers. For closing the coffin, the children and grandchildren kiss the hand of the dead amidst uncontrolled sobs and lamentations. The widow and her close relatives would burst into cries of despair. On the day after the burial, the novena for the repose of the soul of the deceased begins. In the morning, the female relatives and intimate friends of the deceased hear Mass together. They then go to the house of the deceased to pray for the repose of his soul, after which they are served breakfast. In the afternoon, they gather again in the same house to pray. The last day of the novena, called the Panagpamisa, celebrated with a gathering of friends, and the occasion turns to almost like a feast. So, yeah. Cool. Bakit laging babae yung kailangan sumama sa misa? Ano kayo ko? Sorry, uminom akong beer. What if ayoko? Beliefs about the dead. There are many different customs and superstitions in the Ilocano provinces which are believed only by the peasants and the ignorant people. The principales or the elite and the educated people of the town seldom, if ever, follow them. In Ilocos Norte, when the widow or widower returns home from the cemetery after the burial, she or he sits in the corner and only gets up to go to sleep or go to church. Wow. Doon ka lang sa corner. The old women remain seated with their bereaved partner. The widow does not look at any object and keeps her mouth covered with her hand. The windows of her room are closed during the novena, but the doors of the house are left open at all hours of the day so that the spirit of the deceased can come in just in case there is a message that he wants to tell the family. According to a popular belief in Ilocos, the soul returns to the world on the 3rd and 9th days after his death to visit the places where he had lived, as we have mentioned in a previous chapter. Like a shadow that cannot walk around the house, the spirit stays close to the walls, embraces his loved ones from the back and does not let go. One has to get a branch with spines and hit his own back to release himself. Okay. In Ilocos Norte, the soul that leaves the earth is known as a kararua and is more discernible than kaluluwa ang pota, discernible than the spirit or shadow, which is called aninos or alilia. It is the belief that when a man dies, he leaves traces of his existence in the world manifested by the spirits which the natives called araria or aninoas. Traces of existence, sure, that's what we're calling it now. These spirits survive on earth, harm people, switch off lights, and sometimes even take the physical appearance of the dead person. The spirit also visits his close friends. Many Ilocanos claim to have seen ghosts. In Ilocos Sur, they believe in the aninos, which is different from the alilia. The former is an invisible shadow that detaches itself from the human body and does what the deceased did in life. In Vegan, at about 8 o'clock in the evening, they say that one can go to church and listen to the Aninuas and directly hear their footsteps. The day following the burial, people prepare a wick made of rags, light it, and go to the river to burn bundles of hay. The ashes are then mixed with basi, and with this mixture, everyone washes their hair in wine and ash. Then an old woman, always an old woman, preferably a widow, ang hirap maging widow, ang dami mong duties, putang ina, holds the head of the widow or widower, immerses it, and then turns it 3 times under the water. This ceremony is repeated 3 times. This is just waterboarding. Seremonya yung mukha niyo, waterboarding to. After taking a bath, they go to the house of the deceased where they eat delicacies called niniogan? Niniogan. Okay, niyog. Which is made of sticky rice and coconut without sugar or anything sweet. It is also good to eat the fruits of the ampalaya to avoid contamination of the dead man's disease. Puro against free, I know, right? Haha. Waterboarding, bawal kang lumabas ng bahay, sarado yung pinto mo. Why? Because someone you love is dead. Before guests sit down to eat, a plate of ninyogan is also set aside for the spirit of the deceased. On the 5th day or night, several old people accompany the widow or widower to any place where he or she has relatives. They walk silently towards the house of the relatives, go up and let the widow or widower look out from the window. If the widow sees a man, it is probable that she will marry again. If the widower sees a woman, then he too may marry again. So, you can cheat this, you know. Ayan na, lalabas na siya, lakad ka nga doon sa harap niya, parang ganun. On the last day of the novena, different delicacies are cooked. A cow and a pig, if the family's rich, are slaughtered. Before anybody eats, a serving of beef or pork is placed in a corner for the deceased. The people of the house has a belief similar to a church dogma that this is offered so that the alilia or the spirit If anyone eats it, he will suffer a grave illness. Do not eat the food for the dead person. A table lavishly laden with delicacies is set at the sound of the Angelus, but nobody eats until after 8 o'clock in the evening when the prayer for the repose of the deceased has been said. In Ilocos Sur, the peasants of this province have similar practices but with a few differences. They say that if a coffin is delayed as it is brought down the stairs, the spirit of the deceased will enter the body of a relative who will become insane. God damn it. The spirit will then begin to speak through him in the same familiar voice. This spirit is called the malugaanan. It is bad for the mourners to look at the coffin inside the niche or as it goes down the grave. It could mean the forthcoming death of any one of those who look, except the grave diggers. So, loophole, if nakita mo siya, just become a grave digger, you won't die, right? Loophole. In Abra, before a grave is dug, the grave diggers draw a cross on the particular spot and sprinkle it with basi. When the hole is dug and the coffin is placed inside, each one of the grave diggers throws a hand of soil. The one who does not do so will soon die. The grave diggers cannot go up to the house of the deceased without washing their hands and feet first with the blood of a white rooster, and then with basi, and lastly with warm water. In La Union, on the day after the burial, the relatives of the deceased go to a river or to a beach accompanied by an old woman who acts as the priestess or the Catalonan, a name given to her by the primitives of the Philippines. Facing towards where the current flows, the old woman begins to wash the hair of the widow and the orphans with a mixture of burned hay or gugo. All throughout the ceremony, she prays for the soul of the dead, after which everybody can then go take a bath. Back home, the priestess covers herself with a sheet made of rugs or filled with chicken feathers. In this way, the pain and sorrow caused by the death of the loved one is lessened. Oh, that's nice. The next day, they take a walk in the garden or yard of the house. They go to areas where there are banana plants, one of which they are uprooted one of which they uproot while they pray Our Father, and the fruits, if there are any, are eaten. Mourning. In Ilocos Norte, the relatives of the deceased do not wear black except during burial. The widow or the widower wraps himself all over the black cloth, leaving only his eyes uncovered. In La Union, after lunch on the last day of the novena, the widow and the orphans form a line. An old woman who acts as a priestess says some prayers, then removes the black scarf which the bereaved has been wearing since the very first day of mourning. After this, they are free to wear any colored dress. So hindi pinapractice ng mga sinaunang tao na bawal magpula after may patay, I guess. Di ba right now, kapag nagpula ka, pagagalitan ka kasi mamalasin ka or you're gonna make the dead person very, very sad or very, very angry. In general, the relatives of the deceased wear shawls only from the neck to the chest, leaving their face uncovered. The length of the opening depends on the closeness of their relationship with the deceased. So, pwede kang magsabi na close kami and then just wrap yourself. The traditional black is worn depending on the degree of kinship. The widow usually wears the shawl to church or wherever she goes during the first months. Among some rural folk, it is customary for male orphans and widows to wear shawls. Among the Ilocanos, half mourning or dressing in black and white is also practiced. Hey, and we're done with the section about births and deaths. What's next? Hey, we're gonna talk about Filipino women next, but let me just take a 2-minute break? 2-minute break muna, guys. I need to stretch and drink water, not beer. Be right back. Okay, I'm back. It's a curse. It's a curse to play League. Napa-install ako. I still don't understand how it goes, so I'm going back to Valorant. Or Monhunt. Monster Hunter. How dare people drag me back to Monster Hunter again? I can't get out. Okay, so let's talk about what Isabelo de los Reyes has to say about the life of Filipino women before and during Spanish period. I'm sure they're nice. I'm sure Isabelo de los Reyes, he doesn't actually sound to be like the type of guy who would be totally sexist. But again, this was written in 1889. Values differed. But he seems to be a progressive guy. We're talking about the father of Filipino labor unions. But then again, anyway, disclaimer. I am not liable for his beliefs on women, whether they're good or bad. Let's just read. The Filipino woman. The intellectual faculties of the brown-skinned Filipino are completely identical to those of the European. We're off to a great start. The former only lacks education and is hampered by obtaining one by the warm temperatures of an intertropical climate that saps one's strength and frustrates one's good intentions to study. Your Honor. Hindi, Pinoy si De Los Reyes actually. He had the chance to go to Spain though. He's Filipino. Your Honor. Ayoko mag-aral, manginit ng panahon eh. Valid. It is generally held that the Filipina is morally superior to the Filipino male. Oh shit! We're friends now. Isabelo de los Reyes, we're friends now. She is more intelligent. That's why the husband is always dominated for her. For her, he is more like a machine. De los Reyes, her kings are showing. She directs him at will and imposes her whims, her amor proprio, onto him. Isabelo? Are you okay? Thus, it is always assumed that the most heated arguments on matters of both grave and trifling occur because of woman. Okay, we're not friends anymore, Isabelo. Indeed, once she has her way, peace usually returns as if by magic. Isabelo? I'm getting mixed messages. Okay. He's Filipino. He wrote this book to prove na Filipinos have a culture and have beliefs before the Spaniards came. Kaya siya nag-collate ng madaming folk knowledge. Anyway, so, once again, sabi ni Tatay Isabelo, women are intellectually superior, therefore, she should be controlling the man. Also, if may away, sundan nyo na lang yung babae, titigil yung away. Is what he said. There are many male healers who know the marvelous properties of medicinal plants, but they are charlatans, and they attribute the curses they work to superstitious influences. Now put them beside or before the female healers, and they immediately cease their jargon, overcome by the surprising verbosity of said women. Hindi ko alam kung matutuwa ako or maiinsulto ako, Isabelo ah. Ano to? The Filipino woman, however, does not abuse the great influence she exerts over her husband. She is all tenderness and generally works more than the man to earn a living for the family. In Manila and other central provinces, it is customary to see the woman diligently going out to earn the daily bread while her husband stays home doing the household chores proper to women. You know what? Valid. Mahilig pala tayo sa house husband sa Pinas, guys. Isabelo said, She goes out, certainly, but her aim is to earn an honest living. She is shy. The well-known author of old, Father Gaspar de San Agustin, writes in his already mentioned Carta, very honest, very honorable, and more so if she is married. The same may be said of the... Look, I'm gonna say this word. No one cancel me, I'm just reading from the book. The same may be said about the Negrita, a primitive race presumed indigenous as attested to by His Excellency Mr. Sinalbaldo de Mas Imozo. He adds, I have seen neither brazenness nor impudence nor even among the prostitutes. See, Filipino prostitutes nice. More power. In Manila, no woman shows the least indication of such weaknesses, and even less does she call to a man in the streets or from the windows as one sees being done in Europe without modesty or fear of the police. From the circumspect and even humble way in which the unmarried youth approach their beloved, one sees that these young ladies keep their admirers in check, and they require that they be treated with the utmost respect, unless they want it. It must be noted that Mr. Demas, who writes, thus is the author of the most abominable calumny against poor Filipinos. Okay, Mr. Demas, terrible person. We don't believe in him. The Filipina is indisputably unique. She was the first to introduce something new which, to my knowledge, is not yet even done in Europe. I am referring to the fact that it is the woman who manages bazaars and shops in the Philippines. Actually, shopkeepers yung mga babae na Pinoy. Anyway, apparently it's not the same in Europe and America. Huh? I feel like it's super normalized sa Pilipinas na yung tindera ay, like, yung nagmaman ng stall is babae. Na it didn't occur to me na this isn't normal in other places. It isn't? What do you mean it isn't? Like, okay, my mind blown. Why don't the storekeepers agree to give their positions to women? And then look for work more worthy of the arms that nature endowed them with. Okay, Isabelo, calm down. I was with you before. Now you're saying na mas malakas ang lalaki ulit. Anyway, Filipinas have a natural talent for business. I know many Filipino men who are well known for their talent and reputation. It is their wives, however, who take charge of or manage their businesses. Because they are good with numbers. Except for Maya Magindara, who failed math several times. The men, for all their theories, fail lamentably in every turn. Okay, women good in math, man bad at math. Sabi ni Isabelo. The Filipina sews, cooks, rolls cigars, weaves, embroiders, husks rice, which is, according to Isabelo, a very heavy manual labor, improper to her gender. Ay, wow. Damn it, Isabelo. Sometimes I'm with you, sometimes I'm not. This is a wild ride. Fishes or gathers shellfish. She is a very good elementary school teacher. She plays the piano, the harp, the violin, the guitar. She sings, acts and plays, teaches dance, buys and sells, etc. All the fruits of her labor, such as, for example, her embroideries, her weaves, and her sewing are excellent. In the Philippine Exposition held in Madrid in 1887, many of them garnered prizes, some winning gold medals. The Filipina is friendly, very devout, a good mother, a good daughter, and an excellent wife. As for her physical traits, she is generally morena, and there are some with such exceptional beauty that they must be seen rather than described. I know, right? One side lang yung parang nagpo-flip ng coin si Isabelo. Parang sometimes I like, oh yes, I am completely with you. What the fuck is what I felt while reading that chapter. Let's talk about ancient women. Surely this won't get worse. Okay, let's talk about the Filipina in ancient times. Note that this book was once again written in 1889. Therefore, ancient times is very, very ancient times. Woman's influence on man dates from primitive times. It is fiction, not fact, as the elegant Filipino writer Dr. Paterno writes in his book, La Antigua Civilización de Filipinas. Inday, Sinang, Titay, and Daya have ruled and govern the people of Luzon according to their feminine feelings. What the fuck are feminine feelings? There is, however, much truth to the statement. The fuck are feminine feelings? Anyway, as always happens with other young and nascent nations, the Philippines was dominated by Anitism or Malay fetishism. We're talking about fetishism like the religious fetishism, not like mahilig ka sa NTR fetishism. I mean, valid, but also a topic for another day. NTR good. Naturally, the priests exerted their influence over the people and toyed with them through their oracles. Well, the majority of these ministers were women. These priestesses were called Catalonan among the Tagalogs, Babaylan among the Visayans, Baglan among the mountain people of Abra, and Managanito from the Pangasinenses. They were cunning and very intelligent, but their sincerity and decorum were not much to speak of. Isabelo, how dare you? I thought you were drinking Respect Women juice and then you do this. They wore outlandish costumes during their sacrifices, a yellow wig crowned by a kind of brilliant diadem. In their hand they held a straw fan. Their sacristans or assistants, also female, were young apprentices, babaylan aspirants, who would hold a slender cane in the same way a master of ceremonies holds his wands. In case of illness, either hogs or chickens would be sacrificed depending on the patient's means. The priestess began by placing atop an appropriately adorned altar the victim with swill and drinks. She would then commence dancing to deafening drums, palm fronds, and cane trumpets, executing movements and facial contortions very similar to those that can still be seen in the battle scenes of Filipino plays. Now and then she would raise her eyes heavenwards as if she were seeing and talking to sinister visions. She would then stab the victim. I would just like to remind people, the victim, either a pig or a chicken. She's not killing a human being here. Probably. The participants would wet their brow and anoint their sick person with the blood thus shed. She would then resume dancing and would fall to the ground for a moment as if in a trance. When she recovered, she would recount the messages she claimed to have received from the gods during her trance. The messages were so ambiguous that, whatever the outcome of the ceremony, the priestess would always have an excuse, and it would therefore be useless to try and catch her with a lying prophecy. Wait, may tawag dito eh. It's the same reason why people follow like zodiac. Ano nga yung tawag doon? Why people go gadget. Hindi ako makakatulog kasi hindi ko nalaman to. People. Yung parang when you say horoscopes or oracles, you have to make it so vague. There we go, the Barnum effect. Yung sa personality quizzes, sa zodiac, sa tarot cards din actually. The meanings are so vague that people tend to easily ascribe what they believe is happening to those meanings, to those cards, to those personality tests, and that's why people believe in them. I mean, I read tarot, but I'm also kind of a skeptic to tarots and stuff. At least kapag ako yung nagbabasa. Kapag si Bibi yung nagbabasa, naniniwala ako. Kapag ako yung nagbabasa para sa sarili ko, parang I'm only seeing what I want to see. It's basically that, the Barnum effect. People will see whatever they want to see when presented with information that's vague enough to be, that's, vague siya, so you could put whatever you want into that statement, but also specific enough na mafe-feel mo na, oh shit, tumatama siya sa akin. It takes a special kind of person to be able to say those kinds of things. It's a practice, it's a skill. So I think that's what Isabelo is trying to go for, na the babaylans will say things like that. Accurate yung card si Bibi, I know, right? Kapag si Bibi nagsabi, naniniwala ako. Or like if it's anyone else, parang fuck this. Pero like in general, most people would fall for the Barnum effect. So, back to what happens to the pig or chicken that was killed for the ritual. They will be cleaned and roasted and distributed among them, with the best part being given to the priestess in addition to the payment she receives for her services. These sacrifices are still practiced in the mountain people of Luzon. I've also seen this practice like very, very recently nung pumunta ako sa bukid. So you know what? Still there. Just without the priestess. Mostly it's the chicken thing. Sometimes when the sick was a member of a principalia or a kind of nobleman, even slaves were immolated to appease the anitos. Oh shit, we have human sacrifice. In Cebu, the priestess would use a lance to stab the victims. Do we also eat the sacrifices? I want to know, what if I was a babaylan in my past life and I just ate people? What if I'm rebranding? No, that's a bad image. That's bad optics. Halos lahat ng pinatarot mo nangyari. Sana mangyari din yung akin kasi pera yung sabi ni Bibi. Magkakapera ka. I want money. Please. Sometimes when the sick was... where were we? Priestesses also intervened in wedding ceremonies and in purification of those who have been imprisoned. They were also healers. Another proof that the woman has always exerted some influence on the Filipino man is the fact that the goddess such as Bugan, Buhas, Dalingay, Daogen, Baygan, Libongan, Limoan, and others figure in ancient Philippine mythology. Even nowadays in the Philippines, the mangkukulam or the aswang or woman possessed by demons are respected out of fear. Di pa nangyayari yung sa may money. I know, right? Gusto ko yung pera. In 1521, when the Spaniards came to the Philippines, its inhabitants were no longer savages. See, this is why Isabelo de los Reyes, we're friends again. Once again, in 1521, when the Spaniards came to the Philippines, we were not savages. They lived in villages. They had commercial relations with China, Japan, the Muslims of Borneo, the Moluccas, and other Malay countries in Asia. They used firearms, even cannons. They levied customs, duties, professed a not-so-primitive religion that recognized the existence of the soul. They had their own system of writing, a social constitution, and a customary legislation based on long-standing traditions. According to this constitution, there were 5 classes of people. First, the principalia or a kind of nobility. Second, the freeman or the kailian or kabadangay. Third, the liberated slaves or the timawa. Some other authors consider the second and third as only one class. Fourth, the tenants or the aliping namamahay. And fifth, the slaves the aliping sa gigilid. These classes were further subdivided. To the first class belonged not only those who had distinguished themselves through their wealth, physical strength, or shrewdness, but also those wealthy families that had never been enslaved. This class enjoyed certain privileges, such as an exemption from rendering the services required of the timawas, and was the seatbed for their aris, petty kings, and the council of elders. A petty king ruled a province, had the power of life and death over his subjects, and held sway over properties in a manner not entirely arbitrary. He also collected tribute from his vassals. Power was known to be hereditary, but in truth it was conquered or forcibly seized. Father Rada, who came to the Philippines with Legazpi in 1564, writes, "Almost all the caciques are tyrants who have acquired their position through pillage and misdeeds. Upon his death, if the petty king or the hari did not have any heirs, except for some poor woman," well, that's sad. Isabelo, I thought you drank your... Did you run out of respect woman juice? Isabelo, please. The most powerful among the principalia lost no time in seizing the throne. The heiress, on the other hand, among them, the daughter of the cacique of Cebu, Hamabao, were very cunning and tried to marry, at the earliest possible time, a powerful member of the principalia who could defend their rights on the field of battle. Once they were married, however, they would oblige their fathers, the hari, decrepit as they may be, by abdicating the throne in their favor and allowing them to reign while they were still alive. The daughters could only inherit the throne in the absence of male heirs. So, like, here's a plan: kill all the men. Looking at the wife of a member of the Principalia or passing by the place where she was bathing was punishable by slavery. Want to enslave lots of people? Take a bath in the middle, in the public. Take a bath in public. All of those to see you, now you're slaves now. Slavery was more benign for women. The Tomatubanes of the Visayas were required to work in the fields of their masters 5 days every month. Gago, 5 days every month lang? Saya. And pay an annual tribute of 5 panegas of rice. Ang panega is 22.5 to 55.5 liters depending on the district. Madami. God damn. The women of this class spun and wove when their master so wished, half day. The other half of the day, they could do as they please. The tumarampoke or halon women, the lower slave class, worked full-time in their masters' homes, but the latter were obliged to feed them. Okay, so required kang pakainin yung mga servants mo. Good. Following the common occupations of Filipino women at the time of the Spanish conquest, the following are common occupations of Filipino women when the Spaniards arrived. Needlework, for which they have a natural inclination, and all types of sewing. They weave blankets and spin cotton and serve the houses of their husbands and fathers. They pound the rice to be eaten and cook the rest. They take care of the chickens and piglets and stay home while the men work in the fields, fish, sail, and trade. The traditional laws were equally applied regardless of gender or age. In Luzon, monogamy was practiced, while polygamy was allowed in various places in Visayas. No dowry or anything else was required of the woman before getting married. However, in all cases, she was expected to get her share of the material possessions of her parents upon their death. It was the man who was obliged to contribute considerable donations, propter nuptias, to the union as security for his bride's future. In case the marriage was dissolved, the properties were equally divided. The woman received the gifts proper nuptias unless the divorce was because of her. My divorce! We have divorce. If she died, they were passed on to the children. If there were no children, they were given to her father. If it was the husband who died, the wife inherited said gifts. Usually, the gifts were the husband's only possessions. As may be noticed, the woman was very much favored by the legal practices of the ancient Filipinos. If a drunk who had promised a woman marriage reneged upon receiving his senses, he had to pay a fine. Nice. If a member of the Principalia or a freeman had carnal knowledge of another's female slave, he paid a half tae. Ano yung tae? Putang ina, half tae. A peso worth 10 silver reales that subsequently became 8 pesos and much later 22. A half tae of gold for the possible pregnancy and work missed during the pregnancy. If its father supported it, the offspring was considered half free and half slave. If not, it remained a slave and belonged to the mother's master. If the one raped was a woman of the Principalia, the indemnity was substantial. The matter was usually settled by a bloody battle if the elders did not intervene. Pero kapag slave, pwede mong bayaran. That's unfair. Bayad lang. Dapat patayan pa rin. Very classist. In short, Philippine laws and customs were generous towards women, evidence that her current influence on men dates from those ancient times. As for customs, it was the mother who had the prerogative to name the newborn baby. We shall conclude this part with a few words on women's grooming. Grooming as in pagsusuklay, hindi grooming as in yung problematic. Okay, so women. How they styled their hair. They tied their hair in a charming bun on the crown of their head. The Visayans divided them into two, while the Cebuanas sometimes wore garlands of flowers into it. They took great care to keep their hair black and shiny. using for the purpose a shampoo made out of barks of certain trees, coconut oil mixed with musk and other perfumes, gugo, rice washing, etc. They polished and sharpened their teeth from infancy, painted them black, and decorated them with gold. The Visayans would drill holes in their teeth which they filled with gold. Seems unhygienic, but okay. They adorned their ears with big gold earrings, for which purpose their ears were pierced during childhood. Oh, shit. Ancient times pa pala yung nagpapapierce tayo since babies. The bigger and wider the holes, the more they liked it. There were those with 2 holes per ear, one for a small earring, another for a big one. Filipino women wore many gold chains around their neck, arm bracelets of gold and marble called the kalumbigas encircled their forearms, and some wore strings of carnelians, agates, and other blue and white stones they valued. On their legs they wore garter-like, a combination of strings of many stones and other strings dyed black. They wore a multicolored short-sleeved kind of blouse and a floor-length skirt that had the same width from the waist to the hemline. They tightened it at the waist by gathering one corner and attaching it to one side. When women of the Principalia went out, they wore, instead of a coat or a veil, a multicolored scarf made out of crimson silk and other materials woven with gold thread and adorned with rich stripes. Filipino women nananamit fancy. Okay, next chapter is about education. Let me just take a quick break to release the boy, the Bobo Boy. For those who don't know, Bobo Boy, Bubu Juju, Bobo Boy's Lugubudo, the fourth is the name of my pet snail / hedgehog, mostly snail. Okay? Okay. I'll be back. Choto a minute. Bobo Boy, you there? Okay, see, he's there now. There now, he's following behind me. Hi, Bobs. Hello, Bobo Boy. Right. Ano na yung next chapter? Yes, Bobo Boy? Can you tell me what the next chapter is? You're doing his best. He's doing his best. Doing his best to walk with a toilet paper tube on his head. Because hedgehogs are silly like that. Chapter 3. Or part 3. Education of the Filipina under the Spaniards. Oh god, this won't be problematic at all. The education of the Filipina under the Spaniards. Such was the situation of the Filipina at Spanish contact. The missionaries were tasked with educating the Filipino people. Understandably, they started by catechizing and inculcating them in the new doctrines of the crucified one. And since beliefs cannot be changed as one changes clothing, it took the apostles of Christianity centuries to purge all traces of Malay mythology that, until now, is preserved in all its purity among the mountain tribes and remains to a certain extent in the minds of the most devout Filipinos. If this is not so, why are there some people who pride themselves in being very faithful to Jesus Christ and at the same time believe it difficult to explain superstitious beliefs? Indeed, it took the ministers of doctrine a lot of time, and it would have taken them longer had they not known how to take advantage of the moral superiority of women over men. Are you going to blame Christianity on Isabelo? Thus, as the Sonats and the Bayok, a type of prelate of the ancient Filipinos, preferred to have women as their assistants in preaching the cult of Bathala and the Anitos, the missionaries also chose the women to modify Filipinos' ancient religions. God damn it, why does this make sense? It was only at the beginning of the current century that seminaries for native priests were regularized. In 1594, the Hermandad de la Misericordia founded a college for the support and education of female orphans of Spanish parents. In 1684, the order's convent was inaugurated to house native devotees and to give young girls a Christian education. Santa Catalina, which has existed since 1696 as a convent, became a girls' school in 1732. In 1716, the San Sebastian Convent also became an educational institution for girls. In 1810, the Hospicio de San Jose, another school for girls, was inaugurated and reopened in 1828. On March 16, 1864, the Sisters of Charity, who were responsible for improving and spreading the education of the Filipina, took charge of the municipal school. On September 18 of the same year, they took over Santa Isabel College, where they re-established the old Santa Potenciana College. In January 1866, Santa Rosa College. In April 1868, the Santa Isabel College in Nueva Carceras. In May the same year, the sisters inaugurated La Concordia College. In 1872, the College of San Jose was founded in Haro. In July 27, 1885, the San Vicente de Paul House in Dilao. During those years, teachers and private schools for girls multiplied. They would be responsible for the expansion of learning and progress in the Philippines. It is a pity that the curriculum implemented included a greater number of unnecessary than essential subjects. Oh, God damn it, they exploited us so hard. I am also still hearing fire trucks. Seems like the fire in Cubao is still not out. From the beginning of the conquest, the Filipina learned nothing more than Christian doctrine, and her knowledge in the matter is admirable. It was only the Sisters of Charity who widened the limited scope of knowledge in 1864. Later, from 1866 to 1883, the Dominican nuns who were running Santa Catalina College continued with the improvements they had introduced. The following are the subjects taught in Philippine girls' schools. God, they educated us only to control what we learned. Beginners class. Reading of block letters and elementary readers, principles of writing, Christian doctrine, sacred history, arithmetic and counting tables, grammar and analogy in block letters, etiquette and practical arts, which included stocking making, the principles of crochet, tapestry, hemming, and elementary dressmaking, and drawn work embroidery. Intermediate class. Reading and prose, writing in Spanish and English letters, Christian doctrine, orthology, sacred history, arithmetic, grammar and the analysis of analogy, etiquette, the metric system and notions of volume, the practical arts, which include simple dressmaking with backstitching and hemstitching, sewing of men's shirts, variations of drawn work embroidery, different cotton and wool stitches with stocking needles, crochet, fancy items with wood and wire, tapestry embroidery on wood and alpaca, elementary white embroidery. Puro pananahilang, what the fuck? Advanced class. Reading of manuscripts and verses, writing with Spanish, English, and round letters, orthography, arithmetic, decimal system, common fractions, simple and complex direct or inverse rule of three, rule of compound interest, allegation, association, and hypothesizing. Grammar, analysis of analogy and syntax, explanations of Christian doctrine, religion and ethics, sacred history, Old and New Testament, general history with emphasis on Spain and the Philippines. Principles of geometry, geography, explanation of the earth, historical maps of Europe, Spain, the island of Luzon, and the planetary system. Natural history and practical arts, which include, again, sewing and design of men's shirts, various darning stitches, sewing with a machine. May sewing machine na noon. What the fuck? I didn't know how old the sewing machine was. Macrame, relief and drawn work embroidery on percale and pineapple fabrics. Stocking stitch, principles of cutting with a cross rule and cutting course using metric system and simplification, embroidery on percale and pineapple fabrics. Oh wait, umikot ako. Embroidery on satin, velvet, iridescent taffeta, moire, and lame with beadwork, sequins, plush, chenille, silk, silver and gold, black and gold lausin, embroidery, glass etching with chenille and gold, engraving and applications of Bristol board, artificial flower making out of paper, wool fans, sequins, silver and gold cloth, wax, fruits, passementery. I didn't understand half of those skills. Music, voice, and piano was also taught. At Santa Catalina colleges, students willing to become teachers were taught pedagogical theory and practice. In Santa Isabel, they were also given courses on geometry, geology, hygiene, home economics, cooking, baking, and recreational sports. French, Italian, landscape drawing, and portraiture. In addition to the practical arts, they also studied fashion and ladies' dress and hat making. Although it is good to know everything, for knowledge is never wasted, Madame Wolska, please compare this program of study with the best that is found in Europe, and tell me if there are not many differences. In Philippine schools, practical arts take up a lot of the students' time. Why must we force women to become embroiderers and dressmakers when in fact those who study in these colleges come from affluent families? The Filipino woman, because of her superiority and the circumstances prevailing the country, must play a civilizing role. She will bring light and progress. She is the one called upon to drive out the quacks and the idle from all homes. She is destined to regenerate the apathetic Filipino, to disseminate knowledge of agriculture, of the law and pharmacology. Oh, so nasasayangan si Isabelo. It was like, why are we only teaching them sewing when they're the ones who can influence the men? We should teach them law so kaya nilang i-under yung guy. Kind of problematic, but you know what? The spirit is there. Teach women laws, please. Let us now put aside the study of decorative arts, or at least let us not make their study compulsory. Instead, let us require all teacher aspirants to study the elements of family medicine and pharmacology, agricultural techniques that can improve land exploitation, and other such useful knowledge. Okay, I support him here. Bakit nga ba always cooking and sewing yung tinuturo sa mga babae? I think, even now trying not to dox myself, but my high school has like a different curriculum for home ec for boys and girls, and it's fucking unfair. The guys get to like enjoy their life under the sun. The women have to study nutrition. It's not fair. What a plan. I want to take care of chickens. Fuck this school. I will not say the name of my school. But yeah, those schools still exist. This separation still exists. I want to learn agriculture. Fuck this. Moreover, let us not forget that not only women, but men must teach what is appropriate. Bigla siyang nag-gender equality dito. In short, except for theological knowledge, the Filipino women is only beginning to open their her eyes to the light. If her education is well planned and more normal schools for teachers are opened in the provinces, she will have much to contribute to the country's progress. Unfortunately, we're only teaching Filipino women, or at least the convents and the Spanish schools are only teaching Filipino women decorative arts. Which, you know what? If you're into that, that's fine. The arts are great. The arts are wonderful. They're marvelous. But like, it shouldn't be the only thing that women are taught, okay? Okay. God, gusto kong bagalan yung pagbabasa ng ng chapter on Filipino women kasi yung next chapter is erotic composition. I don't know why meron siyang chapter on poems. Meron siyang chapter on poems. Pero the other poems, they're not translated and they're very, very long. Somehow, nung dumating sa erotic composition, it's like, oh, I feel like translating this. I will translate these poems. And so we did. I'm stalling for time. Chapter... The Filipina and literature. There we go. Erotic poems. Yes, we're going to get to erotic poems after this. The Filipina in literature. The Filipina is endowed with delicate feelings. She that is all love and possessed of a fanciful oriental imagination had to be necessarily inclined towards music and poetry from prehistoric times. You know what? Fair. Indeed, during those faraway beginnings of the Spanish domination, she was already strumming with singular ability, a kind of guitar with two or more strings called the kuryapi or the kudyapi, and the genuinely Malay music could only be pleasant, more so to the native's ear. And it has been ascertained, Pauline writes, that by their mere playing of the instrument they could talk and understand each other perfectly. The women also played metal tambourines that some shook, others drummed on with sticks, and others clapped together. Philippine dance shoots were warlike with fast rhythm and deafening tones. The songs were very different in a minor tone. Almost all were sighs or laments of sorrow, a sorrowing heart of a soul in love. Sometimes they were legends and passages from their theogony. Who wrote these poems? Men and more often women. The latter would spend their nights and their idle moments composing songs to get out of a difficult situation, since it was and still is customary for young men and women to improvise during fiestas. It could also come from a musical debate on love, at times done while dancing. The young man usually started off by declaring his love in an indirect and symbolic manner. The woman would answer evasively. That is, she would try to gain time by examining the nuances of the suitor's vague propositions, while she tried to avoid falling into the traps he set. Wait lang, may So may historical reason kung bakit pakipot yung... Mahilig tayo sa trope na pakipot yung babae, di ba? Parang, hindi nga kita papansin yung mga Oh, there's a reason. Yeah, para siyang tsundere. Torpe or tsundere. Torpe tsaka tsundere. There we go. Torpe, pakipot, tsundere. That's a part of our culture apparently. Then, as now, the witticisms uttered during secret conversations between a woman and young man were used. The women would use metal needles to write in their own hand on a smooth cane surface or on banana leaves. Morga, the writer of old, writes, and there were very few who did not write well in a neat hand. Today's women are the same, today being in 1889, perhaps with somewhat less inclination towards writing, but their love letters exude a fervent love and tender feelings, revelatory of their writer's febrile imagination. There are naturally many poetesses among them, but have no fear, for we will soon deal with Philippine poetics. I don't want to. Okay. Philippine Poetics. Once we get to Philippine Poetics, we will get to the chapter of Philippine Poetics. We will read his introduction and then wala kasi talagang translation, iba niyang poems. Nagkatsaga lang talaga siyang i-translate yung poems about eroticism. So like, parang Severino. Let's go. Wait lang, let me just read. Ah, hindi, may translations yung iba. No, I only want to read erotic compositions. Gumawa pa ako ng excuse. I just wanna read the horny bits. 5. Philippine Poetics. It is something very special. The poet's ear is the only rhythm, and his whim the meter. Rhyme is only very loosely observed. There is neither assonance nor consonance, or to be more precise, there are. But one does not need to look for them because the verse requires neither. If the last letter of the line is a vowel, all remaining lines with the stanza must end with the same letters, since Filipinos tend to confuse O with U and E and I, because Philippine dialects only had 3 vowels at the time of the conquest. Moreover, their ancient alphabet only had 1 letter for both E and I. No distinction was made between them, and speakers, whether country or town folk, pronounced them as they pleased. There was only 1 character for O and U. This has been going on since even the before times. Filipinos diphthong the stressed syllable with the unstressed syllable. If a verse ends with a diphthong ow or io, in which have special sounds, the rest of the verses must end with the same diphthongs. If the verse ends with a consonant, the other must end with the same sound. Pait, langit, ladinggit, for example. Each stanza is comprised of only 4 verses and may have an ending different from the others. In Philippine poetry, there are no sonnets, sapphic verse, or quatrains per se. The Tagalogs already count syllables and sometimes use stanzas of 5 or more verses. Congratulatory poems are done in acrostic verses, such is the form of Filipino poetry. Acrostic is, if I remember correctly, yung nababasa mo pababa. Wait, let me check. Acrostic. Okay, what are acrostic poems? Okay, an example of... Okay, acrostic poems nga yung like the first words of the start of every line. Kapag binasa mo siya, they form something. So, an example of an acrostic poem would be, yung medyo familiar to people right now would be Prometheus Unbound by Pete Lacaba. Prometheus Unbound, which would be, wait, let me just see if I could link the poem. Okay, let me link a type of acrostic poem, Prometheus Unbound by Pete Lacaba. So reading it out loud, it's: Mars shall glow tonight, Artemis is out of sight, rust in the twilight sky, colors of a bloodshot eye, or shall I say that dust sunders the sleep of the just? Hold fast to the gift of fire, I am rage, I am wrath, I am ire. The vultures sit on my rock, licks at the chains that mock. Emancipation's breath reeks of death, death, death. Death shall not unclench me, I am earth, wind, and sea. Kisses bestow on the brave that defy the damp of the grave, and strike with the chill hand of death with the flaming sword of love. Orion steers, the vulture retreats from the hard, pure trust of the sparks that burns, and bounds, departs, returns to pluck out of death's fist. A god who dared resist is the poem. But if you read all of just the first letters of every stanza, it spells out Marcos Hitler Dictador Tuta. So that's a type of acrostic poem. I don't know why I'm sharing this. Maybe just because. So apparently acrostic poems in ancient Filipino times, they were for congratulatory poems. Like, congratulations! You'd write a whole ass poem, and if you read all of the letters from the start, it's like, congrats to your wedding, Jeneline and Roji Boy. Parang okay. It is not true, as one poet asserted, that the natives of the Philippines do not know how to love, that their birds don't chirp, or that their flowers have no scent. In Ilocos, for example, murders are committed for those very reasons, and everyone knows that jealousy is born out of love. Filipinos, even the mountain peoples, are endowed with fertile imagination that is as ardent as our sky. They have expressive ideas and similes, many of which reveal a savagery which precisely makes them interesting. Their weakness lies in the absence of an art which would coordinate and polish their work so that, like European poetry, it would become more literary. But tastes vary, and despite its confusion and artistic weakness, we Filipinos like Filipino poems. Blumentritt writes, their poetry demonstrates special characteristics because it is born of temperament. They express their ideas with high-sounding romanticism and many improperly used similes such as resplendent sun inebriate me with a sweet fragrance. Those are the general characteristics of Philippine poetics. Poetics. In order to understand its many peculiarities well, we must study and analyze the models themselves. The following poems were written by the late Doña Leona Florentino, a poetess well known in the Ilocos region, despite the fact that she has not published any of her compositions in any newspaper. Hello, Meowki! Poetics! She did not go to school and learned Spanish with a private native teacher. Her poems are interesting for their naturalness and originality. They are not composed in the European style, but in the crude, confused, and unaesthetical manner of chapbooks of Ilocano drama that proliferated the region. They are written in genuinely Filipino style, for the lady hated plagiarism and spoke contemptuously of plagiarists. I like her already. She wrote with uncommon facility and would sometimes dictate 3 different letters to 3 clerks while she wrote a 4th. She loved to read and write Ilocano books. She wrote several bitterly satirical farces, vividly portraying those she wanted to censure. I regret that I have not been able to retrieve any of them. Perhaps those concerned had them destroyed. Nevertheless, some are very well known in vegan. I estimate her writings would fill more than 10 volumes of standard thickness. However, she herself did not think much of her own poems and sent them to those who they were addressed to, or to those who had requested them without keeping a copy for herself. Same. Look, I don't know if you guys write, but people tend to hate their own writing, okay? Okay. We Ilocanos and generally all Filipinos are like that. We give no transcendence to our compositions and we write them only to be read once and never used again. This bad habit probably dates back to prehistoric times and thus no ancient writings had been preserved when the Spaniards landed in our shores. Questionable. Some people wrote on bamboo. I consider it a triumph of sort that I have been able to get hold of Doña Florentino's poems from people who have kept them by chance. When she was alive and I was but barely a child, I could not appreciate the value that they could have folklorists, philologists, or esteemed founders of the Biblioteca Internazionale de Obreres de Femmes, or the International Library of Women's Work. Why didn't you just use the English? Why did I have to read the French one? I can't read French. The fact that I was not around when she died also contributed to the loss of little of her original compositions that had remained at home. I will give a word-for-word translation of the following compositions so that the expressions peculiar to Ilocano poetics and some peculiarities of Ilocano language structure can be appreciated. We're gonna skip a lot of poems I don't want to read poems about congratulations. They're very, very long. There's so many. Oh, hey, there's a satirical congratulations to a spinster on her birthday. Translation, a 28-year-old unmarried woman is like a wilted jasmine. Ah, ang sakit! Bakit ka ganito? Ano nga pangalan ng author nito? Si Florentina. Florentina, bakit ka ganyan? Florentina, bakit? Florentina. Asa na yun? Anong name ng author ulit? Doña Florentino. Doña Florentino. Okay, kapag hindi ka pakasal at 28, according to her poem, you're like a wilted jasmine that must take care of her petals do not become consumo. Or like, okay, for when the jasmine has lost its freshness and is already bending, every effort to preserve it will be in vain. It will inevitably fall to the ground. You must therefore start early to avoid terrible aging. Always be sprightly and happy though old age may be near. If you properly measure out the wine that you are selling, many will love you, especially the old S and B. No? Control your bad moods, for they are one that causes early aging, especially when that flirt G steals from you. Oh, shit! Oh, shit! Oh, I'm just realizing may blind item si Doña Florentina. Never let yourself be annoyed, especially with the old D and M are being amorous, for they are itchy like tiki. If you follow my advice, you can be sure that you will last until Mr. Domingo's 7th marriage. Gago ng shade lang siya. Gumawa siya ng poem para mag-shade. Be happy, also iwasan mo tong mga gagong to. Ayoko na magbasa ng ano. Asan dun yung congratulations? Mga lola talaga, oh. Ayoko na magbasa ng congratulatory poem. Nasaktan lang ako. Okay, dito na tayo, erotic compositions na tayo. Surely hindi ako masasaktan ng erotic compositions kasi bold to. Why would bold hurt me? Bold will not hurt me. Chapter 7, Erotic Compositions. Ay, alam ko yan. Ayoko yung tingnan. Metamorphosis yan, no? Hindi ko pa rin siya pinabasa. Ayoko masaktan. Erotic compositions. These seem to have been better than the preceding. I present them to those who may wish to enter into the heart of the Ilocano poetess, or that of the Ilocanos in general, for they are reflecting of their feelings. The first poem is called Symbolic Declaration. I will not read it because it's only written either in full Spanish or full Ilocano, neither of which I know how to read. But, translated, this... kahit di ko binabasa, na memorize ko ang code dahil sa memes. Let's translate this erotic poem by Doña Florentino, written in the 1880s. Probably older. The 1800s. April dew has moistened the brilliant chalice of a vibrant flower, and it is very delicate fragrance has inebriated and consoled the sad admirer. You are like a garden, pleasant and replete with roses and white lilies. You are like sunlight that gives them light. The scent of carnations, poppies, and other flowers is not as delicate as your sweet perfume that enamors even the preoccupied doctor or learned man. Precious gold that blinds all who look upon it, and the so-called morning star pale before your brilliance. So too those maidens of singularly attractive and consoling charms, whose sampaguita-crowned heads kindle a love as red-hot as a volcano. Oh, Morena, listen to me and see how like a butterfly I so thirst for your love that only dew can save me. I think it's a poem about vabbing, but like, I could be wrong. It it's probably not about vabbing. It's not about vabbing, right? Anyway, mabango daw yung bulaklak niya, guys. Nabanguhan siya doon sa bulaklak. So like, oh yes, lady, come here. I swear it's not about vabbing. Who the fuck taught me about vabbing? Feeling ko ganito yung contents ang Icha-Icha series. Mga ano lang pala siya, ano? Very tame erotic poems. Tapos pinapa-hype up lang ni... Wait, no, hindi. Si Jiraiya yung nagsulat ng Icha-Icha. Hindi ganito yung laman. Alaman siguro ng Icha-Icha parang... May nag-survive kaya na bastos na poems ng Pinoy. I wanna know. I wanna read. Send the Bastos Pinoy poems to magindaravt@gmail.com. Hindi counted yung ano. Ano yung kundima na yun, yung ang puke ko kulay rosas, yung simula ng lyrics. Let's read another poem. Well, the translation of another poem. May excerpt na binasa si Kakashi out loud. Send to magindaravt@gmail.com. Oh my god, ganito din siya. Shit. Next poem. What joy and happiness they must feel, those who have lovers to listen and share their problems with. Oh my god, this is a poem about Sana All. It's called Desperation, by the way. Yung title niya, Desperation. Once again, Desperation. Sana All. What joy and happiness they must feel, those who have lovers to listen and share their problems with. I am the most wretched, tormented by my sorrows. Though I love, I have given no hint that I am worthy of her. I curse the day that I was born. I would have preferred to die at that very moment. I tried to declare my love, but I get tongue-tied, for I expect to be bitterly disdained. It would be consolation enough to know that for you to know that I love you, and I swear that it is for you alone that I die of love. Gago, torpe. But also, basically he said, Sana all, what if I told you that I'm falling? Joke lang, charot. That's the poem. That's the erotic. Hindi naman to erotic ha. Hindi naman siya bold. Ginagago ko ni Isabelo. Akala ko bold yung papabasa sa akin. Na-excite tuloy ako. Lolo Isabelo niyo. Another poem called Another Desperate Declaration. Each and every night I dream of your loveliness, and in my dreams I see myself suffering, sighing for you. I sigh for the anguish and the pain I suffer because of you. Nenang, how I suffer. Listen to how bitterly I weep, because I am unworthy of you. I shall put an end to my pain once and for all. Yes, my love, since I can hope for naught but your cruel rebuff, I would prefer to die by your hand. My life depends on you. If you will it, I shall cease to breathe. Please comfort my aching heart and let me find solace in your charms. Listen to my bitter lament. Even in death, my love shall not stop sighing for you from even the depths of my tomb. My remains will let its shuddering sobs be heard, and whoever hears me will say, "Pity the poor, scorned lover." So, this poem called, anong title niya ulit? Another Desperate Declaration is like the equivalent of like some modern guy taking a selfie of him crying. Alam mo yung mga ano, yung mga jeje mo na pinipicturean nila yung sarili nila habang umiiyak or humahagulgol tapos ipopost nila sa social media. That's the poem. That's the same vibe of the poem. Parang, oh, iniwan mo ko. Look at how much I'm crying. Magpapaka-sad boy ako sa Facebook. It will surely not become a meme. It became a meme. But yeah, that's the poem. Modern and past Filipino sentiments apparently very, very similar. Bakit dumami yung nanonood nung nagbasa ako ng erotic poems, guys? Sinuntok ang pader. Yes, that's the poem. That's the poem. Sinuntok ang pader. In old-timey times. Timey ways. Okay, there's a new poem. It's fairly long. May intro si Isabelo de los Reyes. The title of the poem is Lament of a Man Betrayed. So, intro ni Isabelo de los Reyes is like this. In my book entitled Ilocandas, I wrote, "This is what the Ilocanos are like. Rich people seldom bother to court the lady of their affection, which often proves very difficult indeed, because in Ilocos it is forbidden to talk to young ladies. If you greet them, they think that you are being cynical and answer you with an insult." Thank you for the hydrate, Myon. Just in time, I thought we would be talking about bold, but we're actually talking about sad boys in this chapter called Erotic Compositions. On the other hand, the mail service is awful as it is everywhere else in the Philippines. Hence, when the rich wish to marry a girl, they ask their parents to relay the message directly to the girl's family. Encouraged by the suitor's wealth, they generally accept the proposal even without consulting the young lady, who is sometimes not interested because she already has a boyfriend of her own choosing. This happened to two young people who were madly in love with each other. When they least expected it, the young woman was prevailed upon by her own parents to marry another. And what could that man that had been betrayed by his love say? The poor fellow could not express his pain and ill feelings and had to ask our poet, Doña Florentino, to do it for him. It is indeed unfortunate that the European readers do not understand Ilocano, and that they are even less familiar with the peculiarities of the Malay's literary style, for I find it impossible to come up with a translation that does full justice to all the composition's beauty. Di ko makita yung full Japanese dub. Ano yan, Neto, sir? Kakashi can't read. Okay, sige, mamaya ako yung papanoorin. Wait. I will... Sino yung nagtag sa akin ng "These socks never get married"? Yeah, kasi uupo si Lola dun sa gitna nyo. Hindi kayo pwedeng magtsuktsakan kasi nandun si Lola dun sa gitna nyo magbabasa. Bakit may nag-quote sa akin nun sa Twitter? Anyway, don't get married kasi uupo si Lola dun sa gitna nyo. It sucks. 4 days before tsuktsakan. Fuck this. O nga, nakita ko na yung post. Okay, let's read Lament of a Man Betrayed, or at least the translation of the poem. The backstory, once again, he had a girlfriend. The girlfriend was promised to someone else by the girl's parents, but they loved each other very much. God, this poem is long. Lament of a Man Betrayed. I wanted to hide, forget the pain that my weeping heart feels, and to dull the bitterness of our separation. I cannot stop myself from crying and showing my feelings. You are leaving me, I who, just a short time ago, was your beloved. Fate, is this the end of the love that smiled at me with promises of happiness and fulfillment? That is why my heart cannot stop sighing, for my betrayed love pains me no end. If you would but gaze upon my heart that is dying from so much crying over a sad separation. Woe is me! I shall presently be stripped of all the beautiful blessings that I hold so dear. Love was given way to betrayal. I did not expect that you would scoff at my love. I feel as if you have poisoned me with balanat. I feel a numbness. Stop! Please stop being so cruel. I know your cruelty only too well. I'm not trying to hold you back. For what can this poor unworthy wretch do? I'm not holding you back. Although you have given me death instead of life that I hoped for. It is as if you snuffed out the light or made my fate even more cruel. Don't stop tormenting me. Finish me off gladly, for I shall die for you. Let the source of this most bitter sorrows annihilate my heart that is resigned to its suffering. When you leave, my eyes will be bereft. Where are you now? This will I ask constantly. Alas, she of peerless beauty is no longer here. Always remember this town of your birth, and though you may enjoy everlasting happiness, May fate bring you back from time to time. My heartfelt tears are with you on your trip. May your honor remain untarnished, and God be with you in Abra. Never forget those who sadly bid you adieu. Okay, so may note ulit si Isabelo de los Reyes. Sabi niya, Isabelo says it's more beautiful in Ilocano actually, but like, again, I'm sorry Isabelo, I can't read Ilocano or Spanish. But, he says, you might say that the translation of the foregoing poem reveals or discovers sentimental passages that would surely make the unfaithful sweetheart cry for the pain that she had caused her former suitor. The author withholds expressions of indignation that may be justifiably felt by any honorable man who had been so treacherously betrayed. Why the mellifluous praises instead of severe reproach? Is it because the Ilocanos are lacking in amor proprio? On the contrary, in Ilocos, these kinds of episodes usually lead to bloodshed. Murder. In fact, Ilocanos only commit homicides out of jealousy. I am not Ilocano, someone please confirm or deny. In a similar case, no one was murdered. The offended suitor serenaded the girl on the eve of her wedding. A tremendous shouting match ensued as insults offensive to all the honorable ears present were traded. The next day, the spurned suitor placed a very scandalous poster on the door of a church where the wedding was to be held. How did it end? Naturally in prison. What did he achieve? Public knowledge of the rebuff he had suffered, great shame, and his former sweetheart's spite and ill will. Babe, she dodged a bullet. Wow! Mrs. Florentino, through her sentimental poem, avoided conflict and scandal. She showed the ungrateful woman that her former suitor was magnanimous, incapable of taking revenge for any offense she had given him. Moreover, he would have been a very understanding husband, precisely the kind of man Ilocanas look for. I know, right? Matrix bullet dodge. So yeah, Mrs. Florentino wrote a fairly okay protagonist. Indeed, what better vengeance can we extract from a poor woman than to make her regret her own ungratefulness? Never mind, savage pa rin siya. I can see an even worse motive for this poem. The former suitor, while invoking his misfortune and simultaneously offering forgiveness and tears, is definitely ensuring his former girlfriend's eternal goodwill. Adultery is even more reprehensible than murder. Vengeance would probably go unpunished. However, I doubt that Mrs. Florentino could have been capable of such contemptuous motives. I don't know if sinadya yun ni Doña Florentino, then I love her. Ma'am. Good job. Okay, there's another poem from Doña Florentino. It's fairly short. Wala siyang title. It's, I am not sorry that you have stopped loving me, for I do not wish to love in vain. Do not expect me to complain if you leave me. I shall celebrate, for thus shall I be free of a love filled with venom. In the beginning I saw you as a goddess. Now you are but a hateful object. O cruel, wicked, and perverted ex, I shall make known to all how you betrayed my love. It's also a poem by Doña Florentino. So like, good job guys. Gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss, write poetry. Pain peko. I swear, kala ko yung erotic compositions would be puro bold. Yung simula lang pala yung bold. This one is also pain. It's called To a Lover Who Got Away. The translation goes, Hi, ako nga pala yung sinaing mo. Where have all those fine things gone? They are no more for you have left. Don't think that I shall forget you. Can a flower that we are holding in our hand fall wilted to the ground without losing the dewdrops that give it life? I can do nothing but console myself. Woe is me, I am dying of sorrow, and yet I await death with happiness and resignation. Though you are now far from vegan where you had known happy days, don't forget it wherever your feet may take you. But oh my heart, how much pain is yours? Woe is me for this torment that you have brought upon me. What wrong have I done for you to leave me? When I heard that you had passed through Santo Domingo while I was there, I was speechless and teary-eyed. Enough! I'm going to stop writing because my tears can't stop falling when I think of you. Accept a tender kiss for your heart that has left me for another. Goodbye. Though you might have left me, please never forget me. In times of joy and sorrow, call me, for I shall always be there to help you. How painful to be separated from one's beloved. I feel like I'm going to lose my one and only life. Sad boy yun. So yeah, that is a poem to a lover who got away. Parang ano nila, no? Sad boy nilang lahat. Parang like, you leave me but I'm fine, I hope for your happiness. It's like, okay, fine, it could have gone so much worse. Could have gone full incel. Well, medyo incel pa rin to. But still. Oh my god, iniwan na naman yung susunod na. Okay, we have 2 more poems. Hindi pa rin siya bold. Fine. Leave-taking is the title of my poem. Listen, my lovely one, to the sighs of this suffering suitor. Look, dear heart, look patiently upon this wretch. I am wretched because you have left me, but I shall never forget you. This is my goodbye. Aha. Ang haba nung... This is my goodbye. I am going. My sorrowful heart is saying goodbye. Goodbye, goodness, white Madonna lily, with whose sweet fragrance I shall keep in my heart. Sorrow will never leave me, and your memory will be the balm for my pain. God go with you, O delightful one, whose charms will attract admirers. God go with you. May your prudence serve to shield your honor and purity. Unfortunately, Myon, walang bold. Na-excite ako kasi yung title ng chapter was like erotic compositions. Pero yung first poem lang yung bold. Yung first poem that's vaguely about vabbing and, you know, your smell, the smell of your flower attracting everyone. Everyone else is just, everything else is just sad suntok sa pader poems. Iniwan niya ako. But it's okay. I wish for your happiness. Parang ganun siya. Last poem that isn't actually erotic, it's just more sad boy. I really love you. Oh, yun yung bold natin. Bold declarations of love and sorrow. And so our last poem is called A Scorned Suitor's Lament. I am adrift upon a sea of bitterness, oh my love. Ceaseless are my pain and sorrow. Enough, enough of your cruelty, for I shall surely die of misery. Oh love, how sad it is to die for having been scorned. It is pitiful to see someone who loves without being loved in return. Your charms are cruel, your goodness inhuman. Oh tyrant, gaze upon my anguish. My eyes had been deceived by some sweet hope, but that hope proved false. I did not expect my love to lead me to the tomb, spurred by my despair. Saan ang paning... Wait lang, ibabalik ko yung paningka... Sige, 5 minutes. 5 minutes ako magbibisaya. Hindi na ako magbabasa. Wait lang. Hello, small tiny boy. Welcome to the stream. So, that was the collection of erotic poems as written by one Doña Florentino. I'm gonna take 5 minutes to speak solely in Bisaya for whatever topic I feel like talking about. Magsugod ta ani. Ara-ara na di ka diri. Bisay mo nang Bisaya nga ara-ara. Ara-ara murag Ilonggo man ang ara oy. Ara diha. Sulti sa akong lolo sa una ba. So mao tong erotic poems nga gisulat ni Doña Florentino. Puro siya sad boy nga poems kay ambot kung ngano, pero hunahuna sad nako mao sigurong ingana ng ilang mga poems nga intense kaayo ba nga murag nakig-break ra sila hatong ilang pinakauna nga uyab, murag dako na jud kaayo to nga unsa bang murag magpakamatay na sila, murag ingana muambak na sila gikan building. Kay unsa ganing mga idara ning magpakasal ning mga tao sa una, di ba, mga 15 16 murag kung di pakakasal ambot na lang. Napaganay usa ka poem nga katong babae nga 28 wa pa nagpakasal, murag gisultihan na siya nga ay kung di ka magpakasal mura na kag unsa ba, lanta na jud kang murag sampagitan na ka nga nanimaho, murag ingana. So mao to siguro kay bata pa kay sila magpakasal and murag usa duha ra sila ka boyfriend or uyab magka usara. Di ko suko oy ingani ra jud ko mag-istorya pag Bisaya ako naning kamot gani ko murag unsa pa gani humok pa gani kaayo akong accent ba, humok pa ni kaayo, di pa ni kaayo Bisaya jud nga Bisaya nga basta di ko suko di gani ko suko ba. Mao gina-process na ako tong mga poems in Bisaya ambot nga naman mo sige redeem og paningkamot mo ra bayag makasabot mo. Kato, siguro yung ato ka intense ang ilang poems kay mga bata pa kaayo na sila magpakasal, so murag kung di pa ka magpakasal og 15, 16 yung ana, murag ruined forever na ka ba, mga 20 years old, wala pa kay unsa, pa kay anak o pamilya, ambot na lang, murag something's wrong with you, ambot, ingana man dyan ang mga karaang tao sa una, karon murag, ambot, sexist pa man saad kaayo ang unsa ang society labaw pag babae ka niya murag wala pa ka nagpakasal labaw kung naka sa probinsya, pero dili na siya yung ato ka harsh ba sa una jud murag ay unsa tong nilupad naiuk-uk pinuang nauk-uk muratan ko ato kighalukan haluk pa jud akong liog luod sama na bagurag asa to nanggikan murag nanggikan to window di na ako mapatay. Nagtan-away rami sa uk-uk. Unsa? Challenge? Sumbaganay tag uk-uk. Sumbaganay ta. Gina-challenge ko sa uk-uk guys ba? Pasabot mo kung unsang uk-uk, ipis. Ay, uk-uk. Sige. You better run, sprayhan jud ta kag unsa unya ba? Raid. Kinahanglan ra na ako ibalik si Boboboy kay sensitive baya kaayo ng hedgehog sa unsa. Sensitive kaayong hedgehog sa mga cleaning materials. Tigulang na baya ni Boboboy ba? 5 years old na siya nga hedgehog. Ang lifespan sa hedgehog kay murag 4 to 7. So tigulang na jud siya. Gina-challenge jud ko sa uk-uk. Di jud siya muhawa ala kung asa-asa na siya gakamang. Ga-process ko poetry niya na ay mulupad nga uk-uk. Pinuang. Pila pa ka minutes? 1 minute. Wala na ako ma-process. Unsa pa ako ma-process? Sagani ang ato ang i-process. Process cheese. Kagahapon kauban na ako si Mopo, si Moshi, si Mopo ug si Maji. Kaon mi sa gawas gi-post man to ni Mopo sa iyang Twitter. Lami kaayo tong okonomiyaki nga cheese ba? Nga noon, ang tod Valentine's rabaya to na Valentine special sa Dotonbori. Lami kaayo murag. Very chewy, busog gud mi kaayo ato. Mao tong akong gihimo kagahapon. Pila pa ka minutes ning kamot na jud ko dinhi ha. 30 seconds pa kung maningkamot og binisaya bago ko magsugod og basa. Ang sunod nato nga chapter kay faith healers ug mga medicine women. Unta maayong pagkasulat ani ni Daddy Isabelo kay medyo weird baya tong iyang section about women baya. Ay! Wait lang, ano, karon mo nag-grade na ning kamot pa kog Bisaya. Wait lang, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Maayong adlaw, sad. Welcome to the stream, Isay and people from Isay. Bakit pa ning hindi ako makakapagbasa ulit, Miyauki? Basa ng libro. Kapag may paningkamot redeem, I mean, maintindihan to ni Isay. Ewan ko sa inyo kung maintindihan nyo. Wait lang, stretch. Welcome, Raiders! Welcome! Welcome! Shout out to Isay. Wait lang ha. Gagawin ko lang to in Tagalog. Lawom baya na kayo magbisaya si Isay ha? Ako baya kay Japik ko nga unsa. Japik baya ako nga Bisaya. Dinhi baya ako nigdako. Thank you for the cheers. Daghang salamat sa cheers. Evansu 08 naana mo sa Magindara Zone nag-redeem si Miyauki og paningkamot. I-type ra nako ha. I-type ra nako nga kay nag-redeem si Miyauki og paningkamot. Magbisaya ako for 5 minutes. I-type sana ako maglisod kog Bisaya og type og English ha. Kamusta imong stream, Isay? Di ba nag-tier list man ka kagani ha? Nag-tier list man ka, may na lang jud makasabot si Isay og unsa ba Bisaya. Nag-enjoy mo sa stream ni Isay? Nag-enjoy man mo no? Lingaw baya na nga streamer si Isay, maayo baya na siya nga streamer. Praktisa jud na siya ba? Ginay daghang jug. A lot of thought unsa man ang a lot of thought sa Bisaya. Oy, basta ginaunsa jud na ginaplano jud na niya, gina-schedule jud na niya. Nag-effort jud na siya si Isay ba para unsa para ma-happy mo sa iyahang streams. Murag very very rare na siya karon ba sa Filipino streamer. So thank you usab Isay for the raid ug sa mga tao nga naa dinhi sa raid. Dito sa mga di makasabot og Bisaya, sorry salaan ni Miyauki. Kay unsa man gud dili puro akong Bisaya. Gikan man gud kog Davao, ang Bisaya man sa Davao kay dili man ing anak kalalom, mga halo na siya Tagalog ba, daghan na siya halo nga Tagalog og naay halo sad nga Ilonggo kay murag kay trading hub man gud ang Davao, so dili siya pwede nga magpuro nga usa ka language kay dito magtapok-tapok ang mga tao from different areas sa Pilipinas. Karon gani pag muuli kog Davao mga unsa na baya Tagalog na baya kaayo mag-istoryang mga tao ug naay ginatawag nga Davao konyo nga sa usa ka sentence na ay Tagalog na ay English na ay Bisaya. Lahi jud ng Davao konyo ba. Hello mo po mayong gabi na ay nag-redeem og paningkamot, so naapa koy 2 minutes 30 seconds nga magbisaya ara ko taod-taod magsugod na kog basa usab sa mga faith healers o kaning libro ni Isabelo de los Reyes, sala ni Miyauki, si Miyauking nag-redeem. Kapila na ba ni nga redeem ni Miyauki og paningkamot? Murag ikaduha na baya? Sunod-sunod baya? Makasabot ka I try. Obo, wakarimashita. Ala, kabalo ba mo? Daghang unsa? Daghang Japanese unsa? Daghang Japanese sa Davao. Naa daw dito'y retirement homes. Dito daw nag-retire si Gak ba? Kabalo mo kung sa si Gak, tong nikantag ba nila ba? Nag-retire to sa Japan. Daghang Japanese sa Japan. Sa Japan. Oh, daghang Japanese sa Japan. Daghang Japanese Davao. Daghang salamat sa pag-follow, Miami VT. Daghang Japanese sa Davao kay tong bago pa nagunsa Japanese colonization, daghan na kaayo Japanese dito ba. Niabot dito sa time nga ginabotohan na lang sa mga tao, nagbotar ng mga tao kung ganahan ba sila mahimong state sa Japan or dili bag-o nagsugod tong gera sa Amerika ug sa Japan. Naana siya sa museum sa Davao City ang ingana nga facts. Daghang salamat sa pag-follow, Amazaki Aihara. Welcome sa stream. Naapa ko'y 1 minute nga magbinisaya paghihapon. Pa-translate, i-translate na ako. The only Bisaya words daw ng kabalo si Sakafaxkira kay Pisting Yawa. Additional patang nga mga ingana nga words, yawa, pisting yawa, unsa pagani animal, mga ingana, mga lintik, unsa pagani mga pirming ginasulti, igat, igat, kaniha pag gisultihan mong igat, ang igat, mura na siyag slat, okay, igat, say it with me, igat, mao nang inyong Bisaya word for today. Kung ganahan mo magsugod og away sa mga gadula og Valorant, syagit mo butalo, butalo kay kanang walay aim. Giatay kay expression ra ng giatay, giatay, igat, okay. Thank you for the hydrate. So yon, now you know meaning ng igat. Pero like minsan ginagamit siya among friends. So like like igat lagi ka day. Minsan among friends, actually natutunan ko siya, tinatawag ako na ng tita ko dati. I was like, why? I was like a child. Miyauki ako na. Miyauki, wait, kailangan pa natin magbasa. Hindi na nakakaintindi. Hindi na nakakabasa. Apelido ko, kakilala ko. Okay lang. Meron nga tao yung apelido nila bagong gahasa. Okay lang yan. Miyauki, i-return ko na to. Tama na. Tama na yan. I-return ko yung points mo mamaya. Why do you have 4,500 points for paningkamot? I was, hello Raiders, anyway, yung ginagawa ko kanina was we were reading, thank you for the lurk, we were reading Folk-Lore Filipino by Isabelo de los Reyes. We had just finished reading a lot of erotic poems by one Ilocana poetress called Doña Florentino. For people asking for a translation nung kanina, I think I said hi. I also said welcome Raiders. Inatake ako ng ipis. That was one thing that happened while I was speaking in Bisaya. Nandun pa rin siya, nakikipagtitigan pa rin sa akin yung ipis. Fuck this, hindi ako makatayo. Ano pa bang nangyari? I also talked about how yung Bisaya ko kasi, I came from Davao, so it's very mixed. Hindi siya, iba yung Bisaya ni Isay. Yung Bisaya ni Isay is very, very pure, malalim na Bisaya. Yung Bisaya ng Davao is medyo mixed because medyo trading hub yung area. So, you have Tagalogs. You have, yung mga Muslims actually, they won't speak in Bisaya. They will insist on speaking Tagalog. So, may mga Tagalog, the Ilonggos are there, the Cebuanos are there. So, hindi puro Bisaya yung nandun sa area. There's also this thing called Davao Konyo, usually spoken by college students. Kung akala nyo weird na yung Konyo ng like Manila, mas weird yung Davao Konyo. It's like 3 languages in one sentence. It's English, Bisaya, and Tagalog. So it's like, okay, I can't think of anything because my brain hangs kapag nagbibisaya. Wait lang Let me see if I can. I had a classmate in college dati na Davao Konyo siya. My brain. Okay, apparently there's a song called Davao Konyo, pero so, mga di talaga ako taga rito is like, yung start ng song, it's like, it's English and ikaw si Tuyawa, hindi ka siguro, dili talaga ako tiga rito. I come from uptown man, mga ganon. So like, I'm not from here, dili talaga ako taga rito. So, the grammar is Tagalog, but the words are Bisaya, tapos minsan hahaluan siya ng English. It's weird. Ano pa bang sinabi ko while speaking in Bisaya? Madaming Japanese sa Davao. It's because even before naggera yung America and Japan, sobrang dami na ng traders sa Davao. Meron ding mga nagtatanim ng abaka. It got to the point na nagkaroon ng votation if Davao itself would be a state of Japan. This was before the war. Obviously, hindi siya naging state ng Japan, but there are still a lot of Japanese people there. Allegedly, nandun daw yung isa sa mga summer homes ni Gact, popular J-pop artist Gact. Apparently lives there. Babalik na ako sa pagbabasa. I'm kind of stalling for time until 11 p.m. guys for reasons. Let's go back to reading. Let's go back to the actual thing that we're reading, which is El Folk-Lore Filipino. It is a book by Isabelo de los Reyes, written in 1889, collating folk literature and folk knowledge, particularly in the Ilocos region, because he wanted to prove that even before the Spanish came and colonized the Philippines, we had a culture and we had a religion. Konyong Bisaya weave, magkano yung abakadeska? Tagpila yung abakadeska. Tagpila, hindi magkano. Anyway, let's still need to kill like another 15 minutes. Let's read about medicine and flora. Okay, so Mr. Black used folklore to learn about the prehistory of popular medicine. He did a very good job of it, but I propose that it must also serve to enrich science. In Ilocos, there are good herbalists. I being Isabelo de los Reyes, know of 2 women who were cured by them after the doctors had given up. The court of first instance and the regional court tried the cases I mentioned because one of the patients was a wife of a Spaniard. Knowledge of their medicine, of folk medicine, is extremely useful. They cure stomach aches with the lomboy peel. They crush it, put salt on it, then cook it. While it's still hot, they wrap it in a piece of cloth, which is then applied to the patient's stomach. The patient is then made to drink basi or rice wine. I'm starting to realize na basi ang solusyon sa lahat dito sa librong to, mixed with powdered abutra. Fever and cramps are cured with the roots of a caustic malunggay, which should be chewed. Malunggay, as in malunggay. It is then placed on the stomach and the soles of the feet or on the back or other parts of the body except the head, the armpits, and the neck. When the plaster becomes warm, it is transferred to another site. Serious wounds are cured with the masticated leaves of a mimosa, minor ones with cane powder. Chest pains are cured with the bakong. Tobacco ash is placed on the abdomen or belly button is a remedy for indigestion. Makes sense kasi diba kapag masakit yung tiyan mo, minsan lalagyan mo siya ng effervescent oil or something na pampainit and then it goes away. Aswete leaves are placed on the forehead to cure headaches. I haven't tried that. There are 2 kinds of papaya, one being fruit-bearing, the other isn't. If the 2 seeds are planted, only one will bear fruit. Those suffering from a stomach ache usually drink holy water. I don't know what holy water will help, but sure. Toothache is cured with hot chili peppers inserted into cavities to kill the little worms or microbes. Masusunog ka sa holy water. Okay. Masusunog ka sa holy water tapos mawawala yung demonyo. Seawater is not harmful. He who uses it for bathing while he is perspiring does not get sick. Bathing in seawater cures scabies. If one dares to lie down and roll in the hot sand, the cure will be effected even much faster, for the bacteria causing the condition will be killed. Kapag ginagalis ka, gumulong ka sa mainit na beach. Mag-beach ka na lang. Kapag may galis ka, mag-beach ka. The excreta of a boa when diluted in a glass of water is an antidote for stomach aches. He who suffers from the water retention will be cured if he eats radishes. He who suffers from migraines will see his pain disappear if he cuts a tonsure on his head. I mean, I guess, kung sinugatan mo yung ulo mo, hindi mo na mararamdaman yung sakit, yung ganyang klaseng sakit kasi mas masakit yung... Holy shit! Logic. Oh God, this is not a good thing to talk about habang nandito si Isay. We're gonna slander mangkukulams. I'm so sorry. I'm just reading a book. Your Honor. Philippine healers. There. I can spell. Last chapter, Philippine healers and their abominable practices. In order to deal successfully with this subject matter, one would have to be an intelligent and impartial doctor because there are practices and medicines that appear to be purely superstitious. Healers cannot use them without the pedantry and daring born of their ignorance. There were cures, nevertheless, because a thorough study of the matters revealed that they might be right. We have witnessed so many cases that have been given up by competent doctors and subsequently cured with astonishing ease by these people who are considered quacks. And who is to say that the many of these healers do not know the secret virtues of Philippine plants that are all, without exception, medicinal? I repeat, to talk successfully about the subject of these articles, one would need to be a doctor, which I am not, and yet the editor of El Comercio has prevailed upon me to do so in order to, as he puts it, help those tasked with writing pamphlets on hygiene. Isabelo de los Reyes, once again, he was a journalist while he was writing these articles. Since I cannot refuse my editor and good friend, whatever the result may be, here is the first article on the mangkukulam. According to popular belief, he is someone who made a pact with the devil. He makes use of a doll to harm his enemies, to make them feel terrible pain in the head, the stomach, or another part of the body. He only has to prick the head, the abdomen, etc. of the doll with a needle. The person he wishes to harm will feel pain in those parts pricked by the needle, regardless of the distance separating them. If the mangkukulam so wishes, the victim can be made to suffer until he dies. In the Tagalog provinces, when someone becomes crazy or delirious for any reasoning, imaginary mangkukulam are blamed and his relatives say something like the following: the person he quarreled with the other day or someone he did not give his money or displeased in some way must have been a mangkukulam and this is his way of getting even. Then they seek out the healers who specialize in exorcising the mangkukulam. They believe that the latter has become invisible, goes to the patient's bed, and strangles him or causes him to fall ill. If the healer hit or whip the patient, it is not the patient, but the mangkukulam that they are hitting or whipping. Okay, sure. Huwag niyo ko isumbong, nagbabasa lang ako ng libro. Nasaktuhan lang talaga. In one case involving a young woman in Malabon, the healers advised that the patient be martyred. Okay, we can't cure her, so we'll kill her, and killing her will kill the mangkukulam. Apparently, as we have already mentioned, since it is the mangkukulam who is believed to feel the pain, the procedure would achieve exorcism. Yes, because the person you're exorcising is already dead. A pharmacist. Pharmacist talaga. Death is the cure. The family agreed to the prescribed treatment. The patient was thus nailed, cruelly beaten, and martyred until the mangkukulam left her, or rather, until the patient's soul left for eternity. The healers and the bereaved family ended up in Bilibid prison. Okay, so apparently in 1889, prison na yung Bilibid. The Malabonenses did not learn their lesson. A certain Bruno in 1864, we don't talk about him, had a very high fever, and as one would expect, he was delirious. The family thought it was a mangkukulam and called for the healers ad hoc. They put him through all kinds of torture. The poor man groaned and grunted. They made him blow through a cane pipe, after which the doctor ordered the mangkukulam to leave. The sick man, still delirious, was not making any sense. and they thought it was the mangkukulam that was answering instead of the patient. There were many healers, each taking his turn at giving his respective treatment. "How many are you?" asked one healer of the patient, who answered, "Three." "Three!" exclaimed the healer. "You see, he is indeed possessed by mangkukulam, not one but many. The more the enemies, the more effective the remedies, the better. Here, take the branch of the lipang kalabaw, and that can make you itch to death." Oh my god, this is terrible. The poor patient would have died a terrible death were it not for the timely arrival of the arresting authorities. Later on, the sick man got well all by himself. They say that healers who go after the mangkukulam know how to tell when a person is really dead. Indeed, it must be made clear that the mangkukulam does not actively kill but strangles his victims who, because he appears dead, is then buried alive. There are many stories about how apparently dead people have been resurrected by the healers. One such case occurred in Maykawayan, according to someone who swears that he saw it with his own eyes. As he tells it, "I accompanied the healer to a funeral parlor. There we found the deceased that they were feasting with plenty of food and drink. After observing the corpse at some length, the healer announced that the deceased was not dead. A mangkukulam was preventing him from breathing, and he, the healer, could see him. He asked for some boiling water and threw it at the corpse. It promptly revived." Yeah, but third-degree burns, but okay, sure. Of course, it was the mangkukulam that got scalded and died, while the supposed deceased was cured. In fact, later on, a dead man was found. Before he died, he had said that he was killed by the healer at the precise moment when he threw the hot water upon the corpse. Obviously, the effects of the mangkukulam's power cease when he dies. The uneducated Tagalogs and the Pampanganos believe this, and this is why they sometimes murder innocent people whom they take for a mangkukulam. Oh shit, witch hunts, that's fun. In the 1840s, a Pampangano had almost an entire family killed, for he was convinced that they were the mangkukulam responsible for his mother's illness. The poor man was hanged in Manila after he made a full confession of his crime. Pity the person who is suspected to be a mangkukulam by the common folks. When he least expects it, he is denounced and brought to a local court by the relatives of a sick man for whose ailment he is being blamed. In one such instance, two alleged mangkukulam, a father and son, were brought before a Navotas court, and the plaintiff presented the healer specializing in mangkukulam as his witness. When the Gobernadorcillo asked him the basis of his suspicions, he answered, "Yes, Your Honor, I am absolutely convinced that these people harmed the patient." "Prove it." "Certainly, I have two pebbles that these two would not hesitate to put in their mouth if they are truly not mangkukulam." He thereupon handed over one pebble to the boy, who readily accepted it, and was about to put it into his mouth when his father, between sobs, snatched it from him. "Aha!" triumphantly exclaimed the healer. "Did you see that, Mr. Captain? Are you not convinced that they are mangkukulam? Because they refuse to swallow this rock, which may or may not be poison." So yeah. "You're right," answered the Gobernadorcillo candidly. He had turned pale, horrified too. Thank you for the hydrate. Ayo. He had turned pale, horrified to find himself before a mangkukulam, and the decision that he had to make. Finally, after he had recovered from his confusion and fright, he solemnly added, "If you are really not mangkukulam as you claim, why are you afraid to put these pebbles in your mouth? I order you to cure the person you have harmed. Take care that you heed my order immediately, and I am warning you not to do anything in retaliation for my sentence, nor in contempt of my authority. Otherwise, I will crucify you and have you burned in the plaza." "Sir," answered the father, though we are poor, we earn a living honorably. We don't like trouble, we stay away from our neighbors' gossip, and we keep ourselves at home. As a result, this troublemaker has concluded that we worship the devil and make pacts with him. The healer is a malicious man. He earns his daily bread through quackery. He has tricked many people. Many believe that he is evil. We are afraid that these pebbles may be poisoned, for he is capable of anything. If we swallow them and die, could he not say that we are mangkukulam as he claims? See here, Mr. Capitan, the trap has been well orchestrated, and it is through such means that he tricks the neighborhood, but his ingenuity is proof of how his perverted moral sense. Hello, Valparia Dantanyon! Hello, Raiders! Welcome to the stream. We are reading El Folk-Lore Filipino, which is a very, very old book by Isabelo de los Reyes, also known as the father of Philippine folklore. It was written in 1889 because he wanted to prove that even before the Spaniards came, the Filipinos had a culture and a religion. You were playing BioShock Infinite. Kamusta siya? Hindi ko siya natapos, na ano ako sa kanya. I have the game. I have all the BioShock games na natatakot ako doon sa 1 and 2 and then sa 3, sa Infinite. Nagkaka-motion sickness ako kapag nandun ako sa part about yung mga nagro-rope twist turn sa langit, eme. Finishing up the story about the mangkukulam. See how intelligent the mangkukulam is, interjected the healer. Don't listen to him, Mr. Capitan. He's under power of his invisible friend. Crucify them. Burn them alive. Crucify them. Burn them alive, echoed the people of the town. I don't know why they were neither crucified nor burned alive, for the people and the Gobernador Silio were fully convinced that they were mangkukulam. So, to recap, there are faith healers, there are mangkukulam. Sometimes both are sus, sometimes both are legit. But according to belief, a mangkukulam can curse people, but they cannot kill them. They can only make them seem like they are dead, like not breathing anymore. A person cursed by a mangkukulam, whatever pain they feel or is inflicted on them is also inflicted on the mangkukulam. This has led to several healing malpractices, such as completely torturing the sick person because it will allegedly also hurt the mangkukulam. Someone got killed. A lot of people got killed, both the victims and the alleged mangkukulams, just to get rid of a sickness or two. Everyone is sus. Welcome to the witch hunt. Okay, before we end the stream, let's talk about the Visaya mangkukulam, because it's still different. It's different. Clearly, anyone suspected of being a mangkukulam is indeed in great danger in the Tagalog and the Pampanga provinces. Either their ears are cut off, or they are tied up and placed in a place full of such ferocious ants as the antique, or they are killed outright. In the Visayas and even the Tagalog provinces, the aswang suspect is either impaled or murdered without the least warning. Yay! You're welcome! I think, to recap, aswang is also used as a term for someone who's just generally possessed by the devil. In the Visayas, when a healer, usually someone advanced in years, is called by a poor man in pain, he does not always oblige, and it is not uncommon for him to look for an excuse to avoid the call. However, he does not just abandon him without some kind of consolation. He inquires about his symptoms and how he feels. He consults his oracle, that is, he puts the miraculous banawan, a white, almost transparent stone or no bigger than an inch, in a plate and pretends to pray. Isabelo de los Reyes, also very, very big skeptic of faith healers. After this ceremony, he assures the patient that he already knows what is ailing him, claiming that he saw his likeness and the painful part of his anatomy on the stone. At other times when he is busy or lazy, He merely takes the pulse not of the patient, but of the one that was sent to fetch him. Tamad nga siya. The most common ailments of the Visayans, according to the healers, are bewitchment, ulcer, indigestion or malaise caused by the talunanon, spirits in the rural areas, or aswang. If the oracle indicates bewitchment, the patient is advised to rub his entire body around 10 times a day with wine spirits and macerated garlic para kapag kinain ka, masarap ka na. Sometimes he is directed to massage his entire body with a concoction made out of haplas. Ay, putang ina, haplas, ano po to? And oil. Right now, haplas is just the generic term for like mga pau de arco, efficacent oil, omega painkiller, but like haplas dates back to the ancient times. He is then asked to drink a little water mixed with powder made out of some unknown bark. If the patient feels cold, compresses are applied to his arms and legs so that the heat from his head, according to the healer, will be distributed to other parts of the body. If the illness is still not cured, leeches are applied to the patient's back. The application of a plaster prepared by a Visayan healer on the stomach usually cures ulcers or indigestion. Otherwise, an infusion made of the suma is taken. But if the patient has money, the healer hurries to his side with a portable pharmaceutical bag characteristic of his occupation. It contains mutya, or yung mga miraculous na stone, para silang anting-anting mutya. Barks from various trees and roots that are effective against all kinds of ailments. These stones are also used as amulets. The healer takes the patient's pulse. After 1 minute of deep meditation, he announces a happy outcome. He massages him, concocts an ointment or potion, or applies compresses depending upon the illness he is trying to cure. He does all this with obvious enthusiasm, a lot of care, and extreme affectation proper to his exclusive science. After the treatment, his hosts offer him food and wine such as sumsuman. Sumsuman right now is the term na ginagamit for pulutan. Sumsuman. A dish usually made with a broiled fish and an inevitable sanag in order of his first visit, without which, according to the charlatan, he himself would contract the sickness. If the patient gets worse, the healers resort to extreme or brutal remedies. He prays, invokes God and the devil, goes to sweep the church or to render some form of service to the saints, and then performs superstitious rites in honor to the Diwata, Diwata being a generic term for pagan gods of the Visayan region. He asks if the patient had gone under the shade of some strange tree, if he had gone to a forest, the countryside, or on the riverbank. If the answer is yes, as is almost always the case because once again, it's 1889, almost everywhere is a forest, a countryside, or a riverbank, the healer lets out a deep breath as if he had found the effective remedy. Just as I thought, the new Hippocrates asserts, the illness had peculiar signs and symptoms. But of course, because it is caused by a stone or wooden wedge that evil spirits put in his body to get back at him for having, perhaps unknowingly, offended them. The stone has to be removed therefore with but or a plaster made of macerated ginger. If the remedy fails to produce the desired result, the quack doctor places all around the patient's bed braziers where incense, blessed or pilgrim's palm leaves are burned. If in spite of this the patient manages to cheat death by asphyxiation, what? You could die like that? Okay. The healer takes a blessed palm with which he tries to make the evil spirits leave, lashing the patient's body with all his might in the belief that it is the spirits, the mangkukulam for example, rather than the patient who feels the pain. Yeah, you don't feel pain when I whip you with these palm leaves, right? Tapos king pala yun ng patient, no? Ay, delix. He also lashes at the walls to make them shake, thereby sending once for all the demons to the very depths of hell. This occurs if the healer is bent on giving the invisible enemies tit for tat. Sometimes he prefers to appease their anger with the following ceremonies. He hangs a chicken egg from the patient's headboard. He then kills a white pig and divides them into two, one for the healer and the other half for himself. However, while everyone openly sees what's happening to the other one half, what happens to the other half is shrouded with trickery and guile. It is seasoned, cooked, and dished out into several plates that are taken to the places where the patient had been taken ill, to be eaten by the offended spirits. Indeed, the food disappears. This practice is reminiscent of Visayan theogony. What if the patient finally dies despite all the ceremonies and the awesome scientia of the new Dr. Sangredo? In that case, it must surely be the work of an aswang. The culprit must be found and killed. And who is it? A man or woman who has a pact with the devil. It does not enter churches nor other sacred places. In its armpit is a hole filled with oil, a marvelous oil that allows it to fly where it will. I have many questions to Halia now. May oil ba yung kilikili mo? When it walks, it merely looks like it is shaking a cot-bed. It has very long nails and horribly dilated black tongue that is flexible as silk. It loves human flesh, especially fetuses. That is why it tries to lick the abdomen of pregnant women who consequently die, and the aswang can thus get its favorite food, the fetus. It can assume whatever form it pleases, a dog, a cat, a bird, or any other animal. It roams the world at night. While the night is still young, it peers into houses. Much later, when everyone is sleeping, it goes about doing its evil deeds with impunity, seizing abandoned children and solitary travelers. At midnight, it leaves the lower half of its body from the waist down in the corner of a house, while the other half flies in search of daily sustenance. If one should come upon the abandoned half-body of an aswang's absence, and manages to pour salt upon the portion where it joins with the upper half, the aswang cannot, when it returns, reunite with the lower half of its body. A nocturnal bird, the tik-tik, announces the approach of the aswang with its song. It is for this reason that the aswang hunts it and considers it its enemy. On the other hand, the crocodile is the aswang's friend. They both share their catch, for example, human flesh. Generally, the aswang lives in a hut by the riverbank, very smart, destroying the evidence. What you can't eat, you feed to the crocodile. The Visayans usually take people with deformities or ugly and strange-looking people for aswangs. Pity anyone who is thus labeled. People say that innocent persons have been murdered. The relatives of deceased whose death has been blamed on an aswang will go out at night to kill the suspect. They must kill it within 24 hours after wounding it, and so they will see him under any pretext. If they fail to act within the allotted time, the wound heals with an incredibly short period of time. Woe to the suspected aswang. Though he be more handsome than Absalom and richer than the Rothschilds, no one likes to marry him nor his children. People flee from him in horror. They give him warm reception out of fear, all the while wishing that he would go away as soon as possible. If they see an animal in the house, they believe that it is the aswang himself, transformed. According to the Visayans, the bird called the bawa is an aswang that has transformed itself in prehistoric times. They are thus afraid of coming across it lest they be eaten or turned into aswang or bird or another animal. Pregnant women fear the aswang most, for they believe that it prowls around the houses at night, waiting for an opportunity to eat the fetus in their wounds. Every woman is brave until they get pregnant and they're like, holy shit, a lot of... Oh, hello, Lorelai! Welcome, yeah. Philippine folklore is interesting. I know so many women who are like, I don't believe in like aswangs. I don't believe that someone will eat my baby from my womb. Aswangs don't exist, and then they get pregnant and they're like, Maggie, how do I get rid of aswang? I thought you said they don't exist. No, please. Okay, fine. Here's some garlic. Garlic at the time cheap. Now, I don't know, good luck. Mahalang garlic right now. So, at the first symptoms of impending childbirth, the husband arms himself with a bolo or knife and positions himself naked on the roof of the house. Oh my god, why does he have to be naked? To assert dominance, T-pose naked, show the aswang your penis and they will go away. There he holds his knife with two hands and swings it about in all directions. At other times, he may choose to stand in the room beneath the one where his wife is giving birth to drive away that aswang that can either lower its dilated tongue from the roof or extend it upwards from the ground to lick the mother-to-be's abdomen. Meanwhile, the other relatives take their place throughout the house with the same purpose in mind. Are they also naked? Some on stairs, others in other places through which the evil one could steal in. If they do not carry a light when they fetch the midwife at night, she excuses herself by saying that without a light, the aswang could see her out to prevent her from helping bring the safe delivery. In short, they can ask for anything they want because of aswang. Pipi so horrible that the aswangs go away. A lot of Filipino monsters, oh shit, nahulog yung libro. A lot of Filipino monsters tend to go away when you show them your penis. I swear to God, it's like, I know I said it before, na if you're attacked by a San Telmo, by like that giant fire monster, you just have to show it your penis and it will go away. It also works for aswang, tikbalang, basically anything that isn't a duende. Don't show a duende your penis. It will swell up and then wither off and then it will be gone. Everyone else, let it hang out. This has been your Magindara How to Defeat a Philippine Folklore Monster advice for today. And that should end our reading stream. Medyo halata na wala akong boses. Let's look for, actually, I'm not even going to pretend that we're looking for someone to raid. Duende is supernatural Viagra for a short period of time and then you lose your peen. So like, have fun, good luck. Let me just see. Okay, so let's raid Moshi Vienna. Moshi Vienna is a Visayan leopard cat VTuber. She is having a birthday stream right now. Thank you for being here. Thank you for raid. For like, holy shit. Wait lang. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Hold on, let me ban this bot. It has been a while since I saw a bot. GG, well played. Thank you for watching the stream, for listening to me talk about folklore for like 3+ hours. I still don't have a schedule for next week, but on Feb22, I will be having my 1-year stream, 1-year stream anniversary and also birthday celebration. So if you have a karaoke song that you would like me to sing, you can comment on that Twitter post or join our Discord. There is a karaoke request channel. We also accept karaoke requests there. If you are a subscriber, our raid message is happy birthday raid for Moshi Vienna because she will be having her birthday. She will be turning I don't know how old in less than an hour. If you are not a subscriber, I can spell. This is our raid message. Happy birthday raid. We are going to raid Moshi Vienna. Once again, thank you for being here. Thank you, Isay and Velparia Dantalion. I can read. For the raids. Yes. Dalagingding na ang Purple Cat Girl. See you next time. Maya-maya muli. Paalam. And thank you very much once again.
Agustan, char. Bawal yun! Dapat isa lang! It's my birthday in a few minutes. Thank you so much, neighbors. There. Oh, thank you for the Bisayawan team. Basta ka lang just chatting. Kapamili man ko bias every all the stars and all the time. Kasi tumbang ko kapagpili sa mga stars ko, ganahan man ako silang Kuya Ben. Sasawain Kuya Ben. Ang salamat sa iyo. May time ka talaga. If you micro-parent ka ba? Ayan, dahil exposed na ako maganda sa lahat. Basta na mapag-isaya ka. Para daw mapildi ang aswang kinahanglan ni matindog sa ato sa iyong balay ng upo. Alam na magkukuman ko. Magdala ra og sudang para sa iyo. Ano bang magkukupo? Di ko ganahan magkukupo. Ambot. Para sa laki ra ni Aisha, sige na magkukupo. Usa ka sa atong senior magkukupo. Pakita ko mo.